We'll start. Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of October 16, 2017 of the Township of Washington Council. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Publics Meeting Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Once again, any disability requirements, please notice beforehand, and the fire exits are on your left and on your right. Stand to salute the flag, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Calamari?
Here.
Councilman Casio?
Here.
Councilman Sears?
Here.
Councilman Oman?
Here.
Council President Bruno?
Here. So we have a few things on the agenda tonight. I just wanted to make mention before we go. We'll have the reading of the list of bills. We have the approval of minutes. We have the reports of the mayor of the council, and then Westwood is here to talk about the middle school expansion referendum. And I just want to be clear that it's a presentation for information purposes. If there are any questions that anybody has, you could feel free to call them. I'm sure Dr. Gonzalez will leave information. This way we can continue with our business, and there would be available, I'm sure, at any time. So, also, we do have a closed session tonight. We had to amend it for another item for personnel and COA, so we did put it on the table down there. So, okay, may we have a reading of the total list of bills, please?
The following is the list of bills paid since the last bill list was submitted, representing September 1st, 2017 through October 12th, 2017. 2016 reserve, 0. Total 2017 current, $4,842,292.29. Total capital fund, $90,005.85. Total animal control, $25.20. Total trust fund, $42,776.72.
Any questions? All right, gentlemen, good? Okay, may we have an approval of minutes, the June 26, 2017 public meeting minutes, the June 26, 2017 conference meeting minutes, July 17, 2017 public meeting minutes, July 17, 2017 conference meeting minutes, September 11, 2017 closed session meeting minutes, September 25, 2017 closed session meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. I did want to mention one thing on the meeting minutes. I think Mr. Sears had asked a question about $7,000, and we did finally figure out what that was. Tom, just so you know, Ashley, the CFO, it was an amount that was in a bank account. We found it. She's going to move it out. So it's just interesting when you go back a couple of months, you forget what you actually talked about. So, okay, may we have the report of the mayor, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our meeting. The first item on my report is shredding and e-recycling, since I know people are waiting for this. Shredding and e-recycling, co-sponsored by Waste Management, is this Saturday, October 21, 9 a.m. to 12 in the parking lot to Town Hall. It is a great opportunity for you to come to the yard, go around the bend, have your paper shredded, and get rid of your electronics. If it gets really crowded like last October, you will not be able to walk in. You really have to drive around with your car. It's trying to protect it and make it safe. Township leaf collection schedule, you received your pamphlet indicating that the program begins on October 30 for Zone 1, and then Zone 2 on November 6, and Zone 3 on November 13. Please read the brochure. There's a lot of specific information in there on what to do if you live on a county road, the last day to place your leaves at the curb, and of course, we hope that you keep them away from the catch basins. We got an idea, former Mayor Charlie Devine asked us to post a map every Friday indicating roughly what streets will be on the next week and what day, so that will help you with your raking schedule. Linwood Avenue, the county milled Linwood Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of last week. They did, the manhole covers and storm drains and things. Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., they are starting the paving. They will start in the township on, the Pascack Road area, most likely. It could change, but right now it's definitely there. And it's going to go all the way to Ridgewood, and they're not going to stop until they're done that day. So most likely, traffic will not clear up till 5 or 6 p.m. or even later that day. So hopefully you have an alternate route. Our road program 2017, due to the fact that prices came in a lot lower than expected, we will be able to pave additional roads, which are Tulane, Amherst, and Madeline, and also add ramps at Amherst. Engineering. Town engineer Krista Teal formulated a plan for drainage repairs at the police station, which are very necessary. They've been there since it became a police station, that section. It includes draining the water away from the foundation walls, removing large overgrown pine trees which are dropping needles and clogging up the gutters. We need to install a shed roof over the lower stairway to prevent the snow from flooding the lower platform. And this will actually save us some money, so the DMF cost to shovel will be a lot less. This whole project is estimated to cost around $39,530. Hopefully, we will be able to use the Republic insurance money that we received when this complex was built due to certain things that happened at the time. Okay, DMF, I am very pleased with the work of our acting superintendent, Bill Lawler. He just finished a management course, and he'll be starting a new one next week, and then he gets a break until next March. The same goes for the members of the department. They've been landscaping and cleaning town lots and unabated properties, painting athletic fields, collecting household debris up till the end of September. Now, if you have any white goods or metal that need to be picked up, the last one will be October 18. So you'd have to really call tomorrow to get on the list. Preparation for the leaf season is underway. Our front loaders were serviced, filters were changed, new cutting edge blades installed. Our sanitation trucks have been serviced and replacing tires, and our leaf vacuum also was serviced. 2 employees completed their mandatory bloodborne pathogen training, and other employees took training in online safety issues. On September 27, monthly sewer inspections were completed and scheduled lines were flushed and enzymes added. And in our municipal building, we had to replace some emergency lighting. Also, I want to thank the department for their work at Town Day. They worked the week before putting a lot of supplies in and worked all that day and just kept running around after we ordered them to do certain things. Reminder, this is the last week for pickup of grass and garden debris. However, you can still bring it to the yard on Tuesdays and Saturday mornings from 9 to 1. Building department, our technical assistant left for a full-time job, and we do have a new person who will be starting next week, I believe, right?
Next Monday.
Week. Grants. I asked Mary Ann Grove, who's our administrator, to compile a list of grants received in the last several years. We are still in the process of getting a lot of that information. However, from 2014 to 17, I'm pretty confident that this is the total we got. It's about $861,000, and the application fees we paid to get them are $14,600, representing almost 2% of the total. So hopefully, by the next time we have a report, we'll have more data, and then we can use it to evaluate future opportunities. Grants that we just got now, we received a grant payment of $14,277, which is the remaining 10% of the money we spent on Superstorm Sandy, which was 90% was $143,000. So Rio Fasciano, who is our OEM deputy, he's very diligent with us, and he didn't want to give up until we got the last 10%. So I thank him. Temple Bethor, there will be an inaugural Mark Samet 5K run on Sunday, October 29 at 9 a.m. that will begin and end at the temple. It is a USA Track and Field certified race. Registration ends October 26. Registration is $25. And the proceeds go to the temple and to the Melanoma Research Foundation. Greater Pascack Valley Chamber of Commerce, I did attend their event sponsored in Rivervale. They asked us to talk about 3 topics: fair share housing, supporting local business, and the deer coyote problems. I certainly summarized our current status of Fair Share, as well as my opposition to the Fair Share program. I also talked about how we promote local businesses during Town Day, supporting them all year, and also the grand opening of Food Town. I noted that our Deer Coyote program is not as active or concentrated as Saddle River or Rivervale, but the police are gathering a lot of data for me so we can take it from here. Fair Share Housing. Recently, the township was asked to move a court overlay from one property to another. Of course, my answer was no, because this would give the developer the right to go into Fair Share Housing without much of getting a lot of approvals. Police Department, from January of this year to October 12, the department answered 6,450 calls. They completed their first portion of their semi-annual firearms training, and the second remainder of it will be done at the North Arlington Police Range, because the Bergen County Academy Police Range is closed indefinitely due to health and safety concerns. We were very fortunate to get North Arlington, because the only other places we could have gone was Fort Dix and Picatinny Arsenal, which is a long way from here. In addition, our officers are taking their training on mandatory mental health, which is a new thing. Our new crossing guard at Pascack and Ridgewood, James Tonner, is fully trained and currently on his own. And also, we got our new replacement radar speed trailer. It's on its way. And not only does it do radar speed surveys, but it posts messages as well, which is what we've been looking to get, so we can use it to, put out in the street and give messages. A strict 9 p.m. curfew will be enforced on October 30 and 31. Anyone who's in violation will be brought to police headquarters, and they will only be released to their parent or guardian. The e-ticket system went live on September 27 and is working in our 6 primary patrol vehicles. Also, our 2018 Ford Explorer police package car is on its way. As soon as it gets here, we'll remove the equipment from the other one and put it in there. Street sweeping. The next one will be scheduled after the end of leaf pickup, which will probably be around December 11th. Wall of Veterans, again, I'm asking if you know of a veteran who lived in the township at one point or still lives here, please, you want to have them on our Wall of Veterans that we reestablished in the senior center, please submit to Bernadette at Town Hall. Grand opening, Nicholas Marcus. The 4-week opening of Nicholas Marcus was really grand. Each week they featured products at great prices. The Honeycrisp apples at 99 cents a pound was memorable. They normally cost $3.99. I thank them for bringing this anchor store to the township, and thank all of you who supported it, and I hope you support this store all the way through, because it's really something we need in the town. Town Day. I think it was a great day for the township. We had rides, carnival games, fishbowl game, popcorn, petting zoo, pony rides, all kinds of vendors, balloons by Raquel, music, an Elvis impersonator, and so on. The committee was chaired by Dina Burke, who did a fabulous job planning and implementing. All the volunteers worked very, very hard, and I think our residents had a great time. And for 8 years in a row, the weather cooperated with us. Ambulance Corps. From January 1 to October 12, Ambulance Corps was dispatched 387 times. The members of the Corps are always working hard to get new members, and since I see quite a few people here, maybe some of you might be interested in looking to join the Ambulance Corps. On the last few months, they have been looking at ambulances, a new one, and they did select one. So you'll be seeing it pretty soon. Fire Department, from January 1 to October 12, the department was dispatched 154 times, and you know that it's not just for fires, they go to rescues, accidents, utility issues, and so on. They held a Texas Hold'em event on Friday to raise money for the department. Also, I'm proud to say that they participated in a Touch-a-Truck event at the library Tuesday, October 10. Children and their parents went to the library and sat in the truck and also did fire prevention crafts. It was a great afternoon. Recreation. Our cheerleader squads, football teams, and flag football are in full swing and have been doing very well, and I congratulate them. All the fall sports at the high school are also doing very well. with the football team being ranked third in the northern New Jersey area. Library. The library is sponsoring its annual Haunted House on Saturday, October 28th, following the Fire Department Ragamuffin Parade, which begins at 10 a.m. It's always a big crowd. It's really good. The STEM program is now every Wednesday until November 8th. Each week features different experiences in coding and building. And the next cartoon class will be November 27 for grades 3 to 6. You have to work with John to improve your skills. Now, I don't know about you, but I remember John Nagy, who taught us how to draw on TV. So I don't know if any of you did that, but I think now it would be on YouTube. And just one last time, don't forget this Saturday, shredding and e-recycling. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Start with the report of the council. Dr. Cassio.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. I want to first acknowledge the terrible tragedy that happened out in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. My heart goes out to the victims, and sometimes, yeah, sure. Sorry, Rose, I apologize. I want to recognize the victims of Las Vegas incident. My heart goes out to the victims, and it's a terrible thing. Evil's out there in the world, and someday, hopefully, we can stop it. I want to thank the Board of Education coming down to tell us about their proposed expansion of middle school. I look forward to that. And last but not least, I want to thank the mayor for her detailed report, and I hope whoever wins the next election is as detailed as she is, so I don't have to say too much. Thank you, Mr. Bruno.
Thank you. Mr. Sears.
Thank you, Council President. Again, I do hold my deepest sorrows for all the incidents that have been going on throughout the United States. I want to thank the Town Day Committee for an outstanding job they did. We had close to 3,000 people show up that day. It was not only was the heat, but the amount of activity that was going on in the field was really hard to control. I have now in the process of completing the application for a grant for the Ambulance Corps Emergency Trailer Response. It's about $25,000. I am sitting down with a a grant writer that's walking me through the process. Hopefully, I can have that in before the deadline, which is in November. I hosted the Habitat for Humanity, or the VFW, at the library last week, where people would come down to find out how they can apply to get into 2 of the veterans' homes that we're supplying and 2 of the seniors. It was quite heartbreaking to see a 2-term Afghan veteran living in a 1-room apartment with his wife and his daughter. Here's a golden opportunity for this hero to get one of those housings. So I hope he's assigned to one of those, and whatever I can do to help him, I will step forward and try and get him into one of those VFW housing units. I have a letter from a gentleman on East Glen Avenue, again requesting that the council take up reducing the speed limit from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. In his letter, he's stating, there's no sidewalks, there are children that walk up and down the block, and again, he's asking for help. So I would ask the council to put this on the agenda to discuss. Also this week, I received a call from a citizen that tried to cross the street on Spice in Washington. She was almost ran over. I went down there. There is no striped crosswalk. There's no warning sign. I reached out to the county engineer, Margaret, who we know, who transferred me to Jason Alex, who got a hold of Tom Conley, was a big circle, which got a hold of Captain Hackbar, and we have actually going down there. They're looking to stripe the crosswalk area and supply some crossing signs, to a pedestrian crossing sign. That's at the bus stop down at Spice in Washington. And that's all I have, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sears. Mr. Calamari?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, of course, I'd like to echo what Councilman Sears and Cassio said about these unfortunate incidents going on all around our country. It's really a shame. Our mental health system, we need to address that much better as a country. And also want to echo what Tom said about Town Day. It was really a great event. The weather fully cooperated. We couldn't have asked for a nicer day. Great turnout. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Calamari. Mr. Ullman?
I would just like to thank everyone who volunteered for Town Day. The committee was an excellent event. The one disappointment I had is the Board of Ed who wanted to attend were denied access to Town Day. I feel that this is a very important subject. I can't imagine a better place to discuss the expansion and the referendum than at a Town Day for one of the towns that's part of the sending district. We talked and heard that there were over 3,000 people, so I really I'm a little disappointed that the mayor and/or the committee decided to deny that application. I am glad you're here tonight, and I look forward to your presentation. That's my only comment.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Ullman.
President, could I just make note of the speed issue that Mr. Sears brought up?
Can we talk about it on
Okay,
the
yeah, I just
agenda?
want to
Because we
let
have
you
to
know
put it
though.
on the agenda.
Okay, if we need 3 people to.
Okay, let's put it on the agenda so we can talk about it. I don't have much. I do actually want to say thank you to all the volunteers and everybody who put that Town Day together. It was, I thought, spectacular. And for probably a couple of dollars, you could eat all day if you wanted to. So it was very nicely done, and I thank everybody there. Okay, what we will do before the public session is have Westwood present their middle school expansion referendum. Again, if there are any questions that anybody has, you can direct them. I'm sure Dr. Gonzalez will leave information, or he'll speak, and Ms. Mandeville, et cetera. So we're going to go down there now. And also, when we're done, when they're finished, we do have to take a 5-minute break so the microphones can be adjusted for the public session. So we're going to jump down there now. Thank you.
Please go down the volume.
Unless you want to watch the back of
Okay.
First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Raymond Gonzalez. I'm the superintendent of the Westwood Regional School District, and I'd like to thank you all for giving us your time and attention this evening. Tonight, I have the pleasure of being able to present a grand opportunity for the school district, but along with me, I have a number of representatives from the school district and the school board. To my left, I have Mr. Stephen Kalish, Board of Education trustee, along with Mr. Paul Liddy, Board of Education trustee, our board president, Darlene Mandeville, and our school business administrator and board secretary, Mr. Keith Rosado. Now, this evening, I promise to keep it within a reasonable time frame because I know there's a lot of work to be done. But we wanted to make sure we took the opportunity to present this evening as part of our voter education series that we have planned. The Board of Education and the administration of the Westwood Regional School District has embarked on an opportunity to be able to allow the school district to continue to achieve its vision for success and excellence. And on December 12, 2017, the voters of the Township of Washington and the Borough of Westwood will have the opportunity to weigh in and let their voice be heard as to whether or not we continue down this path. And that path is going to ask whether or not we, as a school district, are able to move the 8th grade out of the current junior-senior high school and combine it with our current 6th and 7th grade in order to create what you see here as a true middle school, a middle school that houses grades 6, 7, and 8 together. Now, I mentioned, just to begin, our vision as a school district is truly to make sure that we provide a sound and comprehensive education in order to allow all of our students truly to reach their potential. Why do we want to do that? Because our students, the future generations that we continue to educate, are going to take care of all of us. They're going to be our future leader. They're our future innovators, our future inventors, our future public servants. They are going to be the ones who are going to allow our society to continue to flourish and thrive. So we want to make sure that we do our job as an educational institution to provide them with the tools to be competitive and to reach their potential moving forward. Now, what does that have to do with the true middle school? Well, within the school district, for those that aren't aware, we are currently configured into an elementary, middle, and then junior-senior high school configuration. Our elementary schools are K through 5, kindergarten through 5th grade, and then our middle school currently is grades 6 and 7, and then our high school is grades 8 through 12. Well, when you look around the state of New Jersey, and you don't even have to look far in the county of Bergen, we are only one of 2 districts in the entire state that have a middle school that's grades 6 and 7. And in the county of Bergen, we're the only school district that has a middle school grades 6 and 7. And why is that? Because middle school students are a unique bunch of students. They are unique in developmentally. They're unique academically. They present opportunities for us as educators to be able to hone our craft as instructional leaders, but also as caregivers to make sure that they receive the most appropriate social emotional foundation so that they're ready to take on the rigors of high school and beyond. So in developing a true middle school, we want to be able to gather all of our resources together in one single grade 6 through 8 configuration so that we could maximize that critical period in a student's life in order to prepare them for success. Now, what you'll see in the slideshow this evening is also present in the brochure, so if you get a chance, please feel free to pick up any of the brochures or even view the poster board that we have available. I don't want to waste your time or spend too much time this evening giving you something that you could read, but I do want to point out that the research behind middle-level education really focuses on a unique opportunity that highlights what you see on the screen. It highlights creating an academically engaging atmosphere, making sure that we tap into their interests, tap into their capabilities, and develop an educational program as we would elementary, middle, and high school. We want to make sure that we target that grade range. Developmentally, we want to make sure that we take all of the knowledge on social and emotional, as well as brain research, about where our students' minds are at this formative point in their lives. And we want to be able to target our programs and resources to maximize that. At this time, if you have a teenager, you know, independence is entering their developmental stage. They're becoming independent thinkers. They're becoming independent learners. They're trying to establish their identity separate and apart from their friends or their families. And in doing so, we want to be able to provide the emotional supports and social supports to help them navigate. When you look at a true middle school, being able to provide a personal education is how middle schools are generally set up. It allows you to develop teams of teachers that work together to be able to get to know the students more closely. So in a high school, for instance, you have teachers who may have freshmen and seniors all in the course of a single day. In a middle school configuration, you try to keep all your teachers together so they can work together with one another to identify student needs and be able to address those moving forward. Social and emotionally appropriate, I've mentioned on several occasions, but it really is something that we can't understate enough. We want to make sure that our students receive those emotional supports to help them navigate everything that's going on in their body, in their minds, and in the worlds around them. And then last but not least, I think making sure that we provide as many elective options, as much of a thriving, rich, and vibrant curriculum so that our students are able to explore their interests and really take it to the next level so that when they get into the high school, they're going to be able to pursue those pathways even further. Now, some of the improvements that are noted in this slide and in the brochure are really focused on some of the significant facilities enhancements. You'll notice that we have student support services being expanded by being able to house all of our special education, guidance and counseling supports all in one area of the facility, so the students could sort of get that one-stop shopping of support and assistance when they need it. We also now have the ability through this proposal to identify a space that is dedicated for our performing arts. Art and music education is so important in the development of our students' experiences that our current space does not provide us the ability to provide a dedicated area. Our students are practicing for band in the cafeteria because we just don't have the space to provide anything else. So we want to be able to create a space that allows them to practice together in a space that's acoustically designed to maximize their experience. And in doing so, we want to be able to right-size the facility. The facility, as you may or may not recall, was an elementary school, Kettler Elementary School. So when our older students entered as our Westwood Regional Middle School, the facility does not necessarily meet the height and size requirements of our students. So our current gymnasium, as a perfect example, is not equipped to provide an appropriate, even regulation basketball game for students of this age, but it's our middle school. So we want to be able to right-size our gymnasium, and in doing so, provide an opportunity to introduce or reintroduce and expand middle school athletics, but also provide a space, a common space for both our township and our borough to be able to take advantage of for recreational purposes. We currently share our facilities for basketball, and in doing so, we'd also be able to use and open our facilities for wrestling as well by having this space now available. We also have everything that you see here related to the wireless and the energy, the wireless infrastructure, the energy efficiencies. Those are the sort of the design aspects that we have the ability when building this expansion from scratch to be able to make sure that we're meeting the most technologically advanced but also energy efficient solutions in our construction. And then last but not least, I just want to highlight that in this day and age, any opportunity we have to enhance our building access and really fortify our schools to make sure that they are safe for any student, any staff member, or any member of the community who comes to visit, we will take full advantage of, and our design considers that as well. Now, just to orient you quickly, for those who are familiar, the dark brown area here represents the existing middle school. The existing middle school is shaped like a horseshoe. So if you're here in our science wing and you have to come over to social studies, you're going around the horseshoe and everyone's going around in that fashion. What we are proposing in this site plan that you see here is a 2-story expansion as well as the full-size gymnasium that I shared earlier. And by developing this design, we've also increased the pedestrian flow inside the building so that you have multiple arteries in and out in order to access any part of the building more effectively and efficiently. You'll also notice in this rendering of the site plan, we've included additional parking. Why? Because over in this corner of the existing floor plan, we have a dilapidated old field house, which has been used as a makeshift maintenance garage for a number of years, that would then allow us to utilize the space to be able to add this expansion. But in doing so, we want to make sure we reclaim as much parking as possible so that our staff and visitors would be able to access the facility. So by utilizing space available at the A field, we would be looking to expand our parking. I mentioned before, what you notice is a combination of the existing structure. You'll also notice that the dark red spaces are the academic and student support spaces, whereas the lighter red are the sort of administrative or utility. It's where our kitchen can get expanded. We'd be able to add additional bathrooms. We would be able to create a main office suite to effectively move the main entrance from over on this end of the school now to this end of the school. So the main office would be, and main entrance would be over here. When you look at the second floor, I had mentioned it's a two-story configuration. The second floor consists of classrooms, as well as an updated library media center that will serve as a learning hub for much of the learning throughout the school. Just for visualization purposes, we've included renderings that show what the structure expanded on the existing structure could look like. And what I'd like to do at this point is hand it over to my colleague, Steve Kalish, to talk about the benefits to various members of our community.
Thanks, Dr. Gonzalez. Thanks for having us here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Steve Kalish. I'm one of the 4 elected representatives from Washington Township on the Westwood Regional School District Board of Education. I'm a 25-year resident of the town. I've raised 4 kids. My wife and I have raised 4 kids in the school district. 2 have now graduated, and 2 are in the high school. We're really excited about this opportunity to improve the educational experience for our entire community. Again, Dr. Gonzalez mentioned this. All this information is in the brochure. So if you haven't seen one, there's some here. There's some posted around town. Please pick one up and take a look at it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how the middle school expansion benefits other parts of the community. It's obvious how it benefits the middle schoolers. They're going to get the benefits of a new school, upgraded facilities, new educational opportunities. But how does this benefit other constituencies in the district? So we'll start with the elementary schools. This one's pretty obvious as well. The elementary kids in grade K to 5 are all going to then transfer into the middle school for grade 6. They'll have the benefit of those facilities for a full 3 years. So instead of just the 2 years and going to the high school, they will have full 3 years in the middle school, which is age-appropriate educational foundation from the middle school to prepare them for the high school. So if you can look forward. This one, a little bit less obvious, but if you think about it, it's actually pretty obvious. We're moving a full grade or 20% of the kids in the high school out of the high school. That frees up a bunch of space. That gives us opportunities to do things in the high school that we can't do today because of a lack of space. It gives us opportunity to offer some additional electives, some additional wellness facilities, some additional support services. It's a great opportunity to give the high school some extra capability and extra educational opportunity that they don't have today. Go flip one more, okay. So what about the community? Obviously, home prices are very closely linked to how the quality of the education of the school district in the town. This is a way that we can help improve the school district. This brings us up to par where we should be. As Dr. Gonzalez mentioned, we are one of 2 districts in the entire state that have a 6 to 7 middle school and a 8 to 12 high school. Just to give you a perspective, there are 218 school districts that have a 6, 7, and 8 middle school, what we're trying to do, and there are 390 school districts that have a 9 to 12. So we are really an outliner in Washington Township. Many other districts in the state have figured out the right way to educate students is to have a 6 to 8 middle school and a 9 to 12 high school. facility upgrades. Obviously, there's a bunch of expansions that we're going to be doing in the facility. We're going to have now a gymnasium that's segregated somewhat from the educational parts of the school, so we can lock the school and make the gymnasium available for other activities. So rec teams, for example, that are looking for space, we now have another gymnasium in the community that's accessible for our rec programs. Okay, and there's locker rooms and restrooms there as well. And let's see, did I miss anything? Nope, I think we got everything. So, so those are some of the big impacts in terms of benefits to the community and the school. I want to talk a little bit about the dollars. Obviously, everybody is concerned and should be concerned about the dollars. Are we spending the community's dollars wisely? I'm a taxpayer. I care how much it costs and what our taxes are, and so do the rest of the board members. So what this board has done, and what previous boards going back over a decade, if we have been trying to save for this opportunity. So even though the cost of this renovation is about $24 million, the effective cost of this, because we've saved a bunch of money and we've received some approval for state grants, is only going to be $8 million. So the $24 million cost is now going down to $8 million. What does that mean to taxpayers in Washington Township? So if you have a house that's assessed at about $500,000, you're going to pay about $70 a year in increased taxes to get a brand new middle school and all that additional space in the high school. $70 a year. Comes out to about $6 a month. That's a pretty decent investment for what we're getting. And again, this is thanks to the money that this board has been saving for over a decade. A lot of districts can't do this. If we had to pay this money without having the capital reserves that we have, it would be way higher tax bill. So it's a great investment in our community. It's a great opportunity. It's kind of a one-shot deal. So we're really looking for the community to support and invest in the school district. Thank you.
So again, in the interest of time, what we've also provided and will provide on our website for anyone who visits is a copy of what the explanatory statement will be that actually outlines and explains, as Mr. Kalish did, our financial plan for putting together this referendum, so that when the actual ballot proposal is presented for the voters to vote on, they would be able to have a background as to how this $23,891,000 actually translates into an $8 million principal obligation over the next 20 years. So in the end, I just want to, again, thank you all for taking the time. I also want to offer our board meeting this Thursday. For anyone who has additional questions, please feel free to come join us at our board meeting at 7:30. We're located in the Hurley Auditorium or Hurley Theater in the Westwood Junior Senior High School, and also on our website at www.rsd.org. We have a schedule of presentations. We will be doing a total of about 20 presentations to community groups, to school groups, and fortunately we've been granted the opportunity this evening and last week at the Council for the Borough of Westwood to be able to provide as much information to you as possible. We invite you to ask us anything that you'd like to know to help you make an informed decision, but most importantly, we invite you all to come out on December 12th and vote. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all. Appreciate the presentation. Again, any questions directed to them? They have a meeting coming up. I didn't want to take the time today because they now actually have questions that come and go. So, and then we're knowledgeable and they have more time. So, thank you all. We're going to take a 5-minute break because we have to adjust the microphones. Thank you very much. To continue, we're on to the general public discussion. May I have a motion to open public discussion?
Second.
Councilman Calhoun?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Anyone like to address the council? Yes, sir.
Ray Burnworth, 838 Crest Place. I just asked the superintendent of schools as he was leaving, and I mentioned to him that we had a middle school. My daughter, who is now 51, and my son, who is now 49, graduated from that middle school. And then they decided we didn't need a middle school anymore, that the students could all be combined. Now, all of a sudden, they decided we do need a middle school after all. How long will this one be around before they make townhouses out of the property that it's on? I asked him that question, he couldn't answer me. While I'm up here, I would like to thank Councilman Sears, who is trying to get me examined by the VA, since I am a veteran in good standing, and he has been helping me I can't think of the right words, but he's been a great help to me to try and get help for me with the VA to build possibly a ramp to my house, so I don't have to carry this thing up and down the stairs anymore. It's only 5 steps. It's a pain in the neck.
Ray, we got a message, they're gonna be meeting, I'm calling you, I believe they tried to call you. I got a text message while we were here. I'm gonna call him tomorrow, just tell me your schedule. They're gonna come over and do the measurements for your ramp.
Okay. Now, the last thing I want to bring up, you brought up the fact that somebody's had a hard time crossing the street. We need signs that say you must stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. And we need clearly delineated crosswalks for people to cross on. Those are my 3 comments for tonight. I'm sure I kept it under 5 minutes.
Thank you. Or anybody else?
Bob Gilson, 288 Beach Street. I'm just here to talk about, for a couple of minutes, about my concerns about the parking at the firehouse for the New York commuters. I was completely disappointed to hear of this change, and yet there really wasn't any engagement of the people who already have those parking permits. No one said, to my knowledge, I have one. No one contacted me, asked me what my thoughts were, what should we do. There was no consideration given. My guess is that this town probably has between 400 and 500 people that go to New York every day to commute for their jobs, just if you use the county-wide statistics and apply them to the town. We have 45 parking spots, I think it is.
35.
35, okay, I was optimistic. So there are 35 spots for the 500 people. All the surrounding towns continue to further restrict parking for people who do not live in the town. The best alternative for a resident who moves in here today to commute to New York is probably to drive to a park and ride lot in either Secaucus or in North Bergen or the Vince Lombardi lot. That's what this town offers. How do we compete with the other towns when people who want to move here are commuting to New York and we have no solution for them? It is so bad that if you go onto New Jersey Transit's website and try to find a way to commute to New York City from Washington Township, they don't have an answer. There is no answer there. So as we talk about building schools, doing all sorts of things, our competitiveness as a town hinges directly on the ability to get people to commute to and from New York, because the demographics are changing and the work sites are disappearing. Montvale has lost 4,000 or 5,000 jobs. They're not coming back. They're all going to New York. They're all going to Jersey City. Amazon's proposal is not to the suburbs. It's to New Brunswick, it's Jersey City, and Newark. We're in no position to have any of our residents commute there reasonably, should that happen. So I urge you to give further thought to that parking issue immediately, the 35 spots, but to give even more consideration to what are you going to do in the future to make this town a place where people can come and live and commute to New York and not be put under unrealistic burdens. I have a daughter who was raised in this town and is now married and will not live in this community because she works in New York City and has opted to go somewhere else because of the commutation. And she is not alone in that fact. And I have one other little thing, and that's on the burglar alarm systems that people have. They pay a $50 annual fee. Senior citizens get waived, but there is no waiver for people who are disabled. And it would seem to me to be an idea that if we can find a way of offering the same option to people who are disabled, it would make a lot of sense. That's what I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Drew Kraft. My address is 69 Fordham Avenue in Wyckoff, New Jersey. As I said, my name is Drew Kraft, and I'm a retired 20-year member of this township's police department. I would like to address an issue that arose while I was still an active police officer here. On November 10, 2002, our police department received a 911 emergency call. The following is a documented true accounting of that call. Dispatcher, 911, what is your emergency? Resident, yeah, my nigger, I've got a nigger bleeding from the head here, can you help me out? Dispatcher, I'm sorry, you have a what? Resident, a nigger bleeding from the head, can you help me out? Dispatcher, you have someone bleeding from the head? Resident, yeah, his name is John Malvo. Dispatcher, he's bleeding from the head? Resident, yes, his name is John Malvo. Dispatcher, is he conscious? Resident, oh, we don't care, can you help me out? Dispatcher, you don't care? Resident, it's a cultural thing. Dispatcher, okay, we'll be right there. Resident, all right. On March 2nd, 2003, you, Mr. Bruno, pled guilty to that charge of giving a false report to law enforcement in this exact courtroom where you would like to now serve as mayor. The police officers who responded that night also had to deal with Mr. Bruno repeatedly pointing his finger in their faces and had to be told to step back. This shows his total lack of respect to our police department. Locally, a Paramus police officer gave his life responding to a false 911 call. I find it disheartening that he is now sitting as council president and representing this township. I started my police career in Westwood and have had the privilege to serve under Chief Robert Burrows, who has been recognized as having the distinction of being the first African-American police chief in Bergen County. In my 20 years of police work here, this is the only time I can recall that a resident of this town used the N-word in the description of a victim of an assault. I'm here tonight to bring this past matter to the attention of the mayor and council, but more importantly to the residents of this town. I am not a resident, but I still do and will always have strong feelings and ties to this township. I most certainly do not feel this township deserves to have a mayor, or as your current standing as a council president, a person who outwardly shows such a blatant racist nature and failing to understand the emergency nature of our 911 system. In closing, I would like to leave the mayor and council copies of the 911 transcripts and the charge sheets to read on your own. Thank you for this opportunity.
I think since you addressed me, I'll address you.
Absolutely.
The script, first of all, is inaccurate, number one. That's not how the phone call went down. Somebody wrote that up. I don't write that up. The description about what I said was a spoof on a Denzel Washington movie, Training Day. I thought I had called my nephew. When the police came, I admitted it was my mistake. I apologized for the confusion. Apparently, they didn't want to hear that. I went to court because it was inaccurate what they said and what they wrote. I fought it. I paid $7,000 in fines and court fees. The judge felt it wasn't in my favor. There was nothing racist about it. It was a comment that was made from a movie where I thought I was spoofing with my nephew. So I appreciate it, and I just wonder if you were the one who sent me the anonymous letter without signing it.
Absolutely not.
Okay,
I would never,
well,
I
thank
would
you.
never not sign.
So
but-
you've addressed me, I've addressed you. Thank you for
I
coming.
would like to just add that
I
that
said thank you for coming.
document.
It's not a true document. I can tell you it's not a true document because I know what I said and that's not what's on there.
didn't
That's
open
what they wrote.
request, you
So
would
thank
see
you
that
for
that's the
coming.
exact
I
document.
appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to address it? Motion to close, oh, sorry. Yep. Julie?
Julie Lipnick, 184 Finnerty Place. The recent striping of the 2 lanes on Washington Avenue, who was responsible? Was it a county act or was it a township act that made the 2 lanes?
Which,
You know?
which one?
On Washington Avenue, the lanes coming
I believe that was,
going
that was
east.
the county with
The town?
the turn, the left
The
turn?
county made a suggestion,
Okay.
and
The reason why I bring it up is it's really unfortunate that we have such an entitled society because the stripe for 2 lanes goes to Burke. Unfortunately, there are commuters that don't feel that that is adequate enough. And the 2 lanes are now beginning to take place at Jacqueline and beyond. It was last Tuesday morning at 8:14 in the morning. I'm going to work, and there's 3 cars coming right at you, and it's as far back as Jacqueline. I mean, it's a sense of entitlement. There is nothing else. I'm not asking to stripe it any further back, unless you want to go all the way back to the Parkway. But maybe those cones have to start back there, too. I don't know what else the answer is, but it's really and truly sad that people don't take it seriously and they make their own lanes.
well, we might not have any stripes there soon because they're going to pave Washington Avenue pretty soon. So we might not have any. So then we'll deal with it.
Maybe then we have to do a flyover.
And Mr. Bruno, just if I might add for the
Yes.
public's benefit, there is on the consent agenda tonight an approval to, a resolution approving a grant application for $654,087.50 for a DOT grant for the intersection.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Sharon McDonough, 642 Jefferson Avenue, Washington Township. I just want to let you guys also know, Janet, that in addition to the football team, our girls' varsity soccer team is doing very well. They just suffered their first loss Sunday in a county game, but that was their first loss. They're 11-1-1, and they're doing fantastic, and they will be in the future. I just want to talk a little bit about the middle school expansion, and I know that Mr. Sears is called for Dr. Gonzalez's resignation. And I noticed that during the whole presentation, you didn't look up once or paid attention. You were on your cell phone the whole time, which is really very disheartening.
Why? Because
Excuse me, let me talk. You can talk at the end if you want.
Sure.
Thank you. The whole time, you were on your cell phone with your head down, not paying attention. After you, and didn't sit, to me as a resident, you weren't even paying attention or giving them another thought. You've created chaos where there shouldn't be any. You come in and you're spouting your opinion about something, and I know that you're not representing me. I also think that with all the time that you're spending, and I'm listening to this gentleman because I live 2 blocks from where most of the bus stops are, and there's no parking anywhere around us too. And there's plenty of places over there where you could put parking, and yet you're wasting your time talking about high school parking, and it's a senior privilege. Juniors either then don't drive. We're so privileged in this town that they have cars. That's wonderful. But we don't have to create parking spaces for them, nor is it up to the council to tell the schools that they should rent from the church for them to, and pay for parking over there. Our true problem is getting parking for the residents of this town to be able to commute. And I just really wanted to call attention to the funding impact and the tax impact, that even though you keep on saying that it's a $23+ million, it's really $8 million after everything that they have saved and everything. And we really do need it, because I've been in this town for 22 years too. And there was a time when it was a 7 through 12, and the parents wanted the 7th and 8th graders out of the high school because they said they have no place of being 7th graders up with seniors, and it really wasn't, you know, the best place for them to be. So they said, they came up with this, but they need the 8th grade to be down too, to make it the best thing for the kids at this age. And I'd really appreciate it if next time you paid attention. Thank you.
Yes, hold on, I'm sorry. Tom would like to.
I'm glad she's obsessed and watching me do what I have to do. I'm sure you have other things to look at around here. But what you didn't know is I already attended one of these meetings. And what you didn't know is I sat down with Mr. Gonzalez early and we talked. We have a meeting together. So I appreciate your opinion, but don't jump to the gun.
It doesn't make any difference, sir, because in my opinion, as a taxpayer of this town, you sat there and didn't pay attention with your head down the whole time.
Hold on. Tom, I'm sorry. I agree. So just, that's fine. If you can, no, you did. If you,
She's too busy, obsessed watching me.
do you want to wrap up?
Oh, it's so blatantly obvious.
Okay.
Thank you
we're
very
good.
much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Tony Plantamura, 808 Robinwood Road. I'm just curious if anybody up there knows why December 12th was supposed to be voted on this school expansion. Why wasn't it dated November 7th when the general elections are? Why is it December 12th?
It's their choice.
Traditionally, December is the month where most referendums pass.
It's not because people go away during the winter, especially the senior citizens?
It's a known fact that more referendums pass in December than other months.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, asked the question, I'm just.
Well, I'm bringing it up because I want to make people think. Okay, so I have a question that I've never really asked before this council, but I'm going to ask it now. Do we have an anti-nepotism ordinance in this town?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll ask the borough attorney, what does it state? Because I'm confused on who can run for what in this town and who can hold what positions if we have an anti-nepotism borough ordinance on it. Can you tell me, please?
Well, I mean, basically what it says is anybody, the essence of it is anybody in office can appoint a relative to a position where they have the ability to make the appointment. That's really what it comes down to. It has nothing to do with who can run for office. Anybody in the land can run for office. I mean, the president
Okay,
of the
well,
United States ran for office.
I understand, but I want the people in this town to understand something too. I look at this town, I actually have like a little slogan of my own, which is kind of, people are gonna laugh about it, but I call it all in the family. We have Mr. Calamari here. Somebody spoke about Mr. Bruno, so I'm going to bring up Mr. Calamari. Okay, I'm going to do it again because I have a right to sit here. Your father was the head of the planning board, or is a head of the planning board, head of the Republican County Board. You have a brother who was a councilman, I believe, in the 1970s, and you have a brother or sibling that's a police officer. You also had an aunt, I believe, that was a head secretary to the planning board and on the DMF, and you had nieces and nephews in the Republican County Committee. So I want to understand, and I want the people in the general public in this town to understand that when you vote for change, you're really not getting change if you have a continuity of a family that's basically like running Washington Township. So me, as a concerned resident here, I look down at that, and you're talking about appointment. This is a general election, but I still think that people should know the ramifications when you have too many family members in a little fiefdom here and running things and making decisions. And I will tell you this, if certain people get elected to this office, I am going to be asking immediately if you are going to change the form of government in this town. And if not, I will do what I did last time on a referendum, and I will do it via referendum, going around getting signatures on this. Because you had talked about changing the form of government. I haven't seen any form of government come up, and I think it's necessary, if you end up becoming mayor, Mr. Calamari, that there are some kind of limits put on this little fiefdom that we have in this town.
Peter, anything?
I'd love to respond to that. In addition to everything you said last time, Tony, yes, I'm proud that my relatives have worked for the town. We enjoy working for the town. We have town spirit. A lot of things that you referenced are elected positions. So you're telling the voters that they shouldn't elect who they choose to elect for. Everyone on county committee, it's an elected position. So I appreciate you telling the voters how to vote. I'm sure they will appreciate that they shouldn't vote for people. They really need your education. I also find it interesting, you want to change the form of government only if I'm elected mayor?
No.
That's what you just said. That's what you just said. That's what you just said.
I don't want to have a back and forth, Peter, so just say, Tony, I don't want to have a back and forth, I'm sorry, so if Peter wants to finish up, that's fine. Okay.
So for, the last time you and I had this, all my reasons stand. I'm proud to serve in this community as members of my family are. We haven't gotten any undue benefit from serving for this community. If you can point one out, I'd be happy to hear it. And I'd yield the floor to you if Mr. Bruno would allow to let you.
I don't want to go back and forth, I'm sorry. Okay,
you.
anybody else?
William Ferrara, 2556 Cleveland Avenue. I wanted to ask a question about the grant that you mentioned, Mary Ann. I read the resolution. Is that grant a 50-50 grant, a 100% grant, or what would that be if it was awarded?
Non-matching, so that would mean that we don't have to...
So we would get $650,000 from the state if the grant is awarded?
Well, that's what we're asking for in a non-matching fashion, whatever they are able to, they have in their pool of funds.
Now, if they approve that at some point,
Yes.
some amount, would we then be obligated to come up with the rest of the money to do the intersection?
Well, it depends on what the rest of the plan is at that point in time. This is a plan that was developed by the engineer based on the information he has right now. Again, it depends on the timing of everything.
But does that $650,000 represent the full cost of his estimate, or is there additional costs associated with the estimate? And you know what that total is? Because
my guess is no. What we were told is that we needed to buy the land and provide the engineering specs.
Right.
So I don't know what the land is. We've been trying to figure out the appraised value. We budgeted $300,000 this year. We didn't spend any of it. We didn't approach anybody about it. 2 years ago, we budgeted $50,000 for engineering fees. We didn't do anything with that either.
Okay.
My guess, and I don't know, is whatever the piece of property is we have to buy from the corner, plus engineering fees would probably be under $500,000. I don't know. I think the project itself is probably $1 million plus.
Well,
again, I'm making up these numbers. I just don't know.
Well, if I might, just to answer your question, the cost estimate for the actual infrastructure, putting aside the cost to acquire the land,
yes,
are estimated to be $1.154 and some $87.50. He's ascribed $500,000 to the county's costs because the county does have some responsibility. So he's looking for the grant for the full amount of the actual construction cost. As Mr. Bruno points out, there are other attendant costs to acquiring the land that I do not believe the DOT would pay for. So.
because I've seen in the past...
One other point, this is DOT type funding, and the engineer says that we also will be able to negotiate with the county for additional funds. So it's...
So I've heard numbers thrown around over the years that this is going to cost up to $5 million. And now we're talking about something less than 2 million if you add it all together, assuming you get $500,000 for land, okay. The other question I had, comment I had, is that on the other resolution about this resolution about the legislative proposals, I read them, and I would suggest, there was an article in the Bergen Record today, I would suggest anybody, before you vote on that, read the article. It's Senator Weinstein, I believe her name is. Weinberg's proposal. A lot of it makes sense, because I think a lot of the burden that is going on clerks to get Oprah requests would be removed if you put stuff on the website, where people can access this on the website, so you don't have to stand at a copy machine anymore. And that's what the significant portion of that article said it is. So I would suggest you look at both sides of the story before you look at this, or approve this, this resolution. The other thing I wanted to ask is there going to be a debate for the election? Does anybody know? Have any of the candidates for office indicated they don't want a debate?
There is going to be debate. We were all given the opportunity to spend 5 minutes with WCTV, each candidate on their own, with no debate. I spoke with Mr. Calamari tonight. Their team prefers not to do that, but they do prefer to debate as a group, so the mayor and council candidates and the Republican mayor and council candidates. I reached out to the school to get a venue, and I've reached out to the Women's League of Voters to moderate. Right. And I'm trying to confirm a November 1 date.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is that Peter? Yes?
Yep.
Good? Okay. Somebody else?
Scott Spezial, 785 Washington Avenue. I came up here tonight to talk about some problems we're having at Memorial Field. But I'm no longer going to speak about that. I'm going to speak about the document I just received from that police officer that was up here. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Don't address me here in the court. If you'd like to talk to me privately,
I do.
you will.
No, I don't want to talk to you
Because
privately.
this comes from a man who I've seen grab people by their face mask and call them the F word. So if you want to go through there and do some mudslinging because you have somebody back there, I'll be happy to do it.
Let me make my 5 minutes.
Thank you. He
All
read
right.
with the report. You saw what it says.
Okay.
You want me to explain it to you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna.
This is a politically motivated situation, and I'm going to ask you not to bring it up again because it's a personal. If not, I will call the police and have you removed.
I have the right to speak, and I'm going to talk right now, okay?
Sorry?
This document that I just was told was received and Oprah'd. So am I correct in understanding what just happened here? Okay, am I correct in understanding that you called a fake 911 call in, used racial language and, let's call it racial discussion about somebody who has skin a different color than you. You then argued with the police. You then...
The argued by the police
You
is their
lost...
comment.
No, I'm talking. You lost in court, and there's a summons here that you had to pay for. So in calling a fake 911 call, you jeopardized the lives of the police department. You jeopardized the lives of the paramedics. You jeopardized the lives of the public as they raced to your home. And then when it was all said and done, according to these documents, which are accurate documents, they've been Oprah'd. It's an entire recording conversation of your conversation with the 911 person. So
Do you have the recording from the court?
I have the
Do
documentation
you have the
of the
recording from the court when I went to court?
So that disturbs me.
Do you have the recording from the court?
As a resident,
Okay.
I don't want you,
Okay.
in my opinion, representing me, my town, my community,
Don't
my
vote for me.
children,
You don't have to vote for me. Thank you.
in any way.
You don't have to vote for me. I don't like you representing the kids when you grab them by the face mask and use the F word.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
but
yeah, of
whatever.
course not.
Okay, I mean, but again,
Okay.
I don't see a document that says anything like that. But
Do you have
again,
the court records?
this is. I would like to make sure.
Thank you.
That others see this document and
They already gave him
know
out. The gentleman
exactly
in the back was, who
all the
I think was a
parameters
police officer
of
40 years
of
ago.
what occurred
Gave it
here.
out.
Okay, because
said-
I
he said what
think
occurred.
you're a disgrace to make a fake 911 call, and you jeopardize the lives of many people. And you know what?
Okay, thank you.
That's you should resign.
Thank you. Well,
And
maybe you sent the letter then. Did you
you
send the
should-
letter? Were you the
Oh.
coward who sent the letter? No? I'm sorry, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to them.
The last
Somebody
thing,
accused the letter.
the last thing I have a problem with.
Bob, you didn't want me to engage Tony. Please
Yeah, right.
engage
Okay.
until the end.
In my last 2 minutes, the last
Why,
thing.
is it political?
The last
Oh,
thing.
Okay.
The last thing I have in my time, in my
Okay.
2 minutes,
Yeah.
is I kind of have a small problem with people who are, either see the same light as you or represent you. I don't understand why maybe, possibly Councilman Casio he's going around town during the election time and he's kind of representing, your side. And I'm just, it would bother me if he agrees with your antics here and this complaint that was filed. So, with this being said, I just wanted to confirm that this is actually a document that was Oprah'd and it is accurate. And to the best of my knowledge, I just can't see
Thank you.
how you would
Your 5
represent
minutes-
us.
Your 5
Thank
minutes
you very
are up.
much
You're welcome.
for your time.
First of all, the document is not accurate. If you pull the court records, you'll see what happened. I explained myself before. The gentleman in the back, I don't know where he came from that he pulled the records, but I guess he was part of the police department 20 years ago. So, again, thank you for your time. Anybody else? I see no hand. Yes, Joe.
Hi, Joe Durso, 12 Viola Terrace, Washington Township. You guys both said it, Mr. Calamari, Mr. Bruno, over the year. This really isn't a political thing, but I gotta tell you, this is Monday, pure Monday night entertainment at its best. Dirty politics, hats off to you two. That's great that you bring this gentleman back here. Really, you didn't have to. Oh, stop. This is just dirty, disgusting politics. Everybody has something in their past that doesn't.
idea.
Oh, Tom, Pete, stop! It's disgusting.
Joe,
Deplorable.
So you're accusing us.
You're accusing us.
What-
Yeah, I feel that all of a sudden this gentleman comes up. This gentleman comes up. Really? I'm not accusing you. It's like a guy from
You're
White.
100% sure that we. I'm just.
You two are running.
When he came up.
You two are running for politics here. You don't need to
He's
do this.
running.
So are you. This is an open forum for, obviously, Mr. Farrar wanted to talk about a grant. Ray wanted to talk about street signs and they're getting done. You want the corners. Listen, I've been 60-40 on this thing. This actually, I wasn't coming here. I haven't been here in a while. I was watching it on television. This is disgusting, deplorable. And am I accusing you? I don't know. It just seems people can make up their.
You just accused me.
People can make up their own mind, Tom. I mean, really. You're running for mayor. You're running for council.
All right,
and
gentlemen.
you get a guy. My 5 minutes
know.
isn't up.
No, I know, I'm just
He's
trying
running
to.
for mayor, he's running
I
for
mean, this is
council.
really.
Council.
Stop it. You're gonna win.
Stop it?
You're gonna win
You
hands
accuse us
down.
of
You
doing
got the
something
column.
unfounded?
You
want
got
me
the
to stop it?
column.
I don't think so, Joe.
I just got accused of being a
Can I
racist
get-
from Mr.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just let Joe do his 5 minutes,
Can you
please.
put back 30 seconds?
I
in
got
there,
it, yeah.
I mean,
don't
really.
think Scott got 30 seconds.
I am like, you know what, Pete? I was kind of like leaning either way with you guys, but this is this is unheard of that you would do that. Have somebody,
Again, you're
all of a sudden,
accusing.
somebody that used to be on the police force comes in here and goes to bash this guy who's running for mayor, whatever. Everybody has a right to run forever.
I agree.
Then somebody grabs this guy, Casio, in here, saying he's going around town here.
Yeah.
This is all of a sudden I see
You
our
accusing me of
football.
doing that too?
No, I just said, somebody just brought him up.
finish, please.
So
And then you can
somebody
say
comes
what
in
you
here
want.
and wants to drag it in. Listen, I can see two vendettas going on here right now. A former police officer who now lives in Wyckoff comes up and reads something that I'm hearing about, and all of a sudden, I got our football guy coming here and bashing Steve Cassio for no reason. Maybe he just hasn't gotten over losing his Memorial Field. Get over it. Move on, but don't get dirty. There's no reason to get dirty, and you guys, you know what?
John?
We'll pull a movie theme. You guys drew first blood. Have a great night. That's disgusting. What you did to me.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the council?
We're responding.
Oh, absolutely.
You asked us to wait for him to finish. He's finished. We're responding. Would you like to go first, Tom?
Joe, first of all, we knew nothing about this. Nothing.
All right, here we go.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary Ann.
You want to come up and talk?
You want to
Wait
come up
your
and
turn.
talk? Here's the thing.
Wait your turn. Wait for
your
Mr.
turn.
Bruno.
Wait your turn. Then we'll talk about your history in the town hall and missing items and things like that. Police investigation. We'll go on. You want to talk? We'll talk. We'll talk about it. You know? Come on. Joe, first of all, I didn't have anything to do with this. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, and you know that I had nothing to do with this, nor did Peter have anything to do with
I have
this.
respect for both of you, but I'm questioning my respect. Both of you know it's
That's fine. That's fine. You can do that.
Come up.
We had nothing to do with it. Nothing. At all.
Okay.
We had zero
All right,
to do with this.
gentlemen, Tom, Pete, do
Yes,
you
I'm
want to say
sorry.
anything or no?
Yes, Mr.
Because,
President.
I mean, I could finish too, you know, but I'm not going to because it's not worth it. I can give everybody the history of the nonsense. I'm not. Anybody else? Yes.
Cynthia Cannon, 804 Manhattan Avenue. I hope that everybody's calmed down a little bit. Please. You are our elected officials, and you're acting worse than my 2-year-old children. I really get upset with looking at you people and hearing you fight. There is no reason to be mudslinging or anything else. I don't know where the gentleman got his information from. I'm not going to get worried about it. However, it's very, very convenient that it shows up just before an election for mayor. And where was all this information when you guys were running 3 years ago? Obviously, they had this information already, but it was never came out till then. That's not my question. My neighbor, Ron Fries, who lives on Pascack Road, just died recently. Ron was a veteran, a really great, nice guy, and he and his wife used to come to the meetings, and they sat over here all the time. I can remember they used to be a fixture once upon a time. They got disgusted with coming to meetings, but they also got most disgusted about the condition of our flag. Mr. Fries believes that you honor your country with your flag. You make sure that your flag is always 100%. It's got to have a light on it. It's got to be representative of our great country. When Ron said to me, he said, could you do me a favor, because I remember them talking about going to clean the flag. And I assured him it was cleaned. And he said, well, then why when I look at my flag, is my flag looking like it's got dirty white stripes on it? Can we not, as a town, afford to represent and to honor our country by buying another flag for our courtroom? It's on TV. It's always here when we have people coming to court. It's a flag that represents all of us. We are all equal under this flag, and that's all I really have to say. Thank you.
Just one thing on that. I believe it has something to do with the lighting, because that was one of Ray's complaints, Mr. Bernroth. And at one point, he looked at it and he felt it was clean. I mean, we certainly can get a new flag, but I do think it has something to do with the lighting in this room that makes it look not so presentation worthy. But I think anyone would feel it appropriate to replace it if it is damaged or dirty.
Cynthia, we did take, we bought all new ones, for outside, because we want to make sure they look, like you're saying, appropriate. And this one was clean. It was taken out in the daylight, and it looks very different. It really does. But if you think we get a new one anyway, it's not a problem. It's just that, they did take it outside and it looked white and it was all cleaned and,
I just promised his wife that I would bring that.
But you know what I'm gonna do? I am gonna take it out Saturday and take a look at it outside.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay?
Anybody else? Motion to close.
So moved.
Oh. I asked anybody else, no raise their hands 3 times. Come on, yes, sir. Okay.
My name's Jim Hanson, 11 Lindenwood Court here in Township. I was here 2 weeks ago was the last meeting, I believe. 3 weeks ago.
Do you think you can talk into the microphone?
Is that good? Am I echoing too much? So I was here 3 weeks ago and I came up and I was talking about the field. And quite frankly, I do recall being on TV and being told that Memorial Field was going to be on the agenda. I came here last time and asked about resodding. Mr. Bruno, you said to me after raising your voice to me, or maybe it was before you raised your voice to me, that you would have it on the agenda. You told me. Right here, looked at me, said it'll be on the agenda. Why isn't it on the agenda? That's not a question, by the way, that's a rhetorical.
So, want an answer?
Can I have that?
Do you want a
added to the
rhetorical
agenda?
answer?
No, I didn't ask you a question. Please wait
You
till
asked
I've
the
asked the question.
You said, why isn't it on the agenda? I thought you said.
I withdrew my question.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to use my 5 minutes to speak, please.
Sue, please withdraw the question. Yes.
Okay, so, did you lie to me? Did you have an intention to put it on?
Is that
That's
a
a
question?
question. Yes, I have a question. Did you lie to me and you didn't intend to put it on? Or what happened? Why isn't it on the agenda?
You want to answer?
Yes, please, answer that.
It's not on the agenda because I am a committee member, and the majority of the committee members, I'm sorry, you okay? You look like you can't breathe.
I'm sorry?
Oh. You look like
Excuse me, are you being
look
that
like you're not
rude?
able to breathe.
Seriously?
Ooh. Very
Seriously?
nice. Very nice.
Maybe I should be a policeman.
Yeah, good for you. Maybe on the committee members, the majority of the
Did
committee
you
members.
come to the last meeting, Mr. Bruno? Because that was meeting number 4. I didn't come to talk about the committee meeting.
you like an
said it would be
answer?
on the agenda.
Would you like an answer?
I would like
Yes
to
or
make
no?
sure I get 5 minutes to speak.
Well, you
If you're
asked
going to
me to
use
answer
4
you.
of them,
Okay, you speak and then I'll finish.
yes, thank you. So, I want to make a statement to my family and to my friends. What I heard today disgusted me. Anybody that can say that should not represent me, my family, my friends, my neighbors. To even say that was a joke, that's not funny. It's ridiculous. We can't have that. So, another question. Did you plead guilty? And that's public record. Did you pay fines? Because the fine's not enough for saying stuff like that. These times, people riot over those things now. That's just not acceptable behavior. I want my children to know that. I want the children of the town to know that. That's completely unacceptable. Honesty is the most important thing out of any public official. People doubt it all the time. They lie. They lie. Well, you lied to me last week or 3 weeks ago. You deceived people. I'm
Please
sorry
don't
to have
call
the
me a
floor.
liar unless you want the answer.
You
Otherwise,
deceived
don't call me a
people
liar.
last year on the field. I came in front of people. We can go back to the tapes, and I said, you deceived people about the condition of the field. You had an effect on a public election for repeated behavior. And behavior repeats itself. It doesn't change. There's something wrong with that behavior. And for my family, my friends, people that know me, that behavior is unacceptable, and we shouldn't accept
Another
that
minute.
of anybody
One more
or
minute.
of ourselves, anyone. So please, just be honest. So, did you plead guilty?
Let's go back to your first question.
Let's answer my, did
I'm
you
gonna go back
plead
to your
guilty?
No, I did not plead guilty. I went to court and I did not plead guilty. I went to court, I brought the attorney.
I'm sorry. Honesty is the most important thing in this world. We have to
Listen,
be
my
honest.
friend, please leave the courtroom, otherwise I'll have you thrown out by the police, because now you're bringing this into an area that you shouldn't be discussing. You want to talk about the field, I'll do it. If not, I'll call the police, and you can figure out what to do.
Talk about the field. Go for it. Let's talk about the field.
Yes, hi, can you please send an officer into the council room, please? Yep, ma'am.
So, Mr. Pollard?
Where you going? I'm going to answer your question about the field.
I'm leaving.
I'm going to answer your question about the field.
You can talk. Sit here.
The majority of the committee members have voted not to present to the council. The majority.
That's not true.
It is true. Thank you.
Not true. Get the meeting minutes. It was 5-5.
We're not talking to you, Scott, Mr. Speciale.
Meeting minutes.
Yes, I'm trying to conduct a meeting, and it seems to have gotten into a personal issue from 2002 that was brought up, and I addressed the issue, and I keep getting badgered by Mr. Hanson when I'm trying to conduct the meeting, so either he is asked to leave so I can continue normal business, or it gets controlled.
Want us to remove?
Yeah, I'd like to have him removed.
Well,
I'm trying to have a meeting,
Wait,
and he's
just because
addressing
it's
this.
inconvenient for you to hear things, Bob, is no reason to have someone removed.
All right. Listen, I just walked into this. Did you violate the law? No.
No.
Did you do something illegal?
No, I asked him to please let me finish speaking and talk about his questions. He didn't allow me to answer his questions. He's bringing up something from 2002. That's fine. They're all throwing the mud.
He
It's
has
all
his
for
5
it.
minutes and you were trying to
He has his
interrupt him.
documented. He came up here, he documented. They had a private investigator, here's the truth, a consultant, a law firm. They probably spent $10,000 to have me
Is there a point here,
investigated.
Bob, or are you just going to continue to preach about this?
Listen to Mr. Calamari.
I mean, listen,
Okay, so we'll continue with the meeting. We're going to close, unless anybody else has anything from, yes.
stand by.
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry? I don't see.
Yeah, I'd like somebody to stand by, though.
No, town attorney says you have a right to be here. And personally, as a police officer, I can't throw somebody out of a public meeting.
Okay, that's fine. I just don't want to disrupt the meeting.
Can I ask what this is all about?
He doesn't like what he said.
I think you know.
Go ahead, Sandy, honey, Sandy.
Listen, I have a very clear understanding of what happened in 2000.
All right, now we're really going down a different road. So please.
You called me in here.
I called you in for a reason. Can we please?
Listen, I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to say anything.
Well, you
I'm
just
saying
did. You
I
just
can't
did.
throw
So
anybody out of
please,
here.
I'm sorry,
You want us to stand
Lieutenant
by?
Skinner. No, please leave then. It's the same thing that happened. Please leave. Thank you.
Another false report. Calling the police for no reason.
Yeah.
We're going to leave and he is staying.
Yeah, that's fine.
So another false report.
Pete, Pete, I told you years ago to grow up. I'll tell you again, grow up.
Oh, Bob, I'm shaking. I don't need a lesson from you, thank you.
So why don't you debate me one-on-one?
Bob, let's get back to the meeting, please. We got business to do.
Yeah.
All right, well, I have somebody here.
Just walked in.
My name is Sandra Bruno.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I live at 697 Hillcrest Road in Washington Township. I have listened to this drivel all night. Dirty politics is what Cindy Cannon said, is what Joe Durso said, is what Tony Plantamuro said. We got a letter in our mailbox telling him to resign his seat and drop out of the race immediately. That's a veiled threat, Mr. Calamari. And it comes at a time when you and he are in a battle for mayor. This is the best man I know. I've known him for 43 years. He is not a racist. He made a call to my nephew every week, and my sister-in-law testified to that.
Your nephew's number is 911?
He has to dial, at the time he
Let her
worked in
talk,
the
Peter.
city, and
Let her
don't
talk.
talk to me. Wait for me to finish.
Yes.
Thank
let her
you.
talk.
Will you do this all
Don't
the
talk
time?
to me.
You know what? I do have
Don't
some
talk to me.
control. Let
He
her
worked
talk.
in the city.
Called her.
He worked in the city at the time, and you had to
didn't
dial
call.
911 to get out.
got
So
preferential
that's what he did.
treatment,
Are you listening to what I'm saying?
No.
He worked in the, why not? Why not, Peter? Because it's the truth. He called my sister-in-law every week, and they used to spoof movies. That was a spoof. The police officer that came here came bounding into my house, pointing his finger, red in the face, and accusatory.
Did your husband call
Accusatory.
911?
He came out,
Peter, please be quiet.
and he
She's
admitted
talking.
to
Shut
them
your
that they
mouth.
made a
That's the only
mistake.
way I can say it.
Peter, he admitted to them that he made a mistake. It was a mistake.
Can I
It wasn't
get
that
Mr.
he's
Allman to
sitting
take over
there
this meeting?
calling 911.
Okay.
Then I'd like Mr.
This is
Allman-
politically motivated. This man is the best man for this job,
In your
not
opinion.
you. Your father's gonna run it, not you. Your father's gonna run
it?
this town.
Is it?
This man could run this town. He knows business, he knows how to make money, and you don't. So you know you're not gonna win, because that's why you put your little dog back there on him. That's why it came out
1 minute.
now, and you know it.
1 minute.
That's it. That's it.
Thank
We
you.
all know why this is happening. We all know why this is happening.
Thank
I
you.
want to bring it out.
Thank you.
This man is beyond perfect.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
The documents show that.
Anybody else?
Nonsense. You're nonsense.
Look-
And
Thank
you
you
know,
for your
Mr.
opinion.
Sears, I'm disappointed. I really am in you.
Okay.
So-
No talking from the audience,
Bob,
please.
your
It's
wife
done.
walks in and you give her
Thank you.
preferential treatment, I think someone else should take control of this meeting immediately.
Be quiet, Peter.
Be quiet?
Yeah, be quiet. Everybody had preferential treatment. They come up here and bash me, I let them bash me. So
And-
just,
And did someone
yes,
bash me in this meeting?
yes.
And did I tell them to go on?
Please go ahead.
187, name's Eamon Toomey, 187 Devon Road.
Please, nobody from the
Anybody
outside.
who should be removed is right here,
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
okay? So,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Mr.,
Yes.
you are on the field committee, yes. How many meetings did you actually attend?
I attended the first 4 meetings where all you spoke about was turf, and I never went back to another
That's
one.
not a true statement. We
It's a
had
true
Mr. Teal there.
statement. Go ahead.
Okay, again, just
Go ahead.
another
I
thing,
worked
just
down in
keep
third
adding
floor,
to the
so
list.
I let them know.
Another thing to just keep adding to the list.
Yeah,
That
okay.
you've never, you missed the last 8 meetings.
Mr.
8.
Chairman, can you come back from the microphone a little bit, it's feedback.
8 meetings. That's what you call representation to a meeting, is it by missing the last 8? How is that? And then to say that you didn't have a majority. Listen, the committee met, we gave the proposal. It's the same proposal that I made to the town 2 years ago when I asked them to do something about it. That's all we're looking for. We know long-term we're not going to get, if it happens long-term, so be it. We are asking for a short-term solution from the field committee. That's what we asked for. That's what we thought we were going to at least get a chance to discuss. But you don't want to put it on the council, on the agenda. Why is it not on the agenda?
Come back from the microphone, too much feedback, she can't.
Why is it not on the agenda? Explain to me, why is it not on the agenda?
I answered the question to Mr. Hanson before. Did you not hear the answer?
The committee submitted the paperwork for everybody to have a chance to talk about
The
it.
majority of the committee did not want the report
That is not
submitted to
true.
the council. I saw the emails, you're on the emails.
I'm on the
asking for
emails, yes,
petition.
and the committee voted to send it to the council,
The
and it
majority
was sent to the
said
council.
no.
That is not true.
Okay, so.
Not
if-
true. Again, something else that is not true that you are
Oh,
saying.
please.
What the group proposed was to redo the field. We've got light problems. We've got 12 lights out. Every year, we've got to spend $3,000 to have lights fixed.
Mr. Chairman, just 1 second. Yeah, this year it's going to be a little more with the prices we got to change the lights, but.
Continues to go up.
The engineer's been up abreast with the committee. He is working on a proposal for after the season. It'll be ready.
We need a solution now. Again, we said sod because that's what we've done, and because you co-authored the actual ordinance to have it, the turf field shot down. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go back to what we used to do, which is sod the field. That was the short-term solution. You don't agree with that? That's not your choice to make. It's the council's choice to make. As council president, you've got to give them the voice to be able to make that decision, not yourself. Do you understand? Mr. Bruno, hello?
Hello?
You don't understand.
So,
It's not your decision.
you want an answer, or you want to keep blabbering?
Blabbering, nice.
You want an
Got that.
answer?
Go ahead.
Okay. The council received the letter along with the mayor. Not one council member said to me to put it on the agenda. One.
Okay.
Not one council member said, we should sod the field in the winter.
That's because Mr. Hanson asked to put it on, and so I assumed it was going to be on, and you
Right,
agreed.
which is why
Not
we were
one
here.
councilman said, I agree, we should sod the field in December. In the middle of the winter, let's sod
Which is the
field.
way that we've done it the last 3 or 4 times.
And look how well it's
Okay,
worked.
so I
So
gave
that's
you a
your
solution.
answer.
Hold on. You know it all, right? So I gave you a solution last year.
I don't know what
To
all
do
you
it
do.
in May, right? And why didn't we follow through with that plan? Explain it. I gave you the plan.
Yeah, we
What's
put-
the plan? Why couldn't you execute that plan?
We put money in the budget to resurface the field 2 years ago, and the money wasn't spent. Ask the mayor.
Okay? Did we, now, Marianne, right? Didn't I not give you a plan 2 years ago to try and sod the field at the end of May in the best part of the growing season if possible, right? That's what we were gonna try
I
and do.
wasn't here 2 years ago, if you're
Well,
referring to last year.
Last year.
I believe so, but I think we had issues with the softball getting on. I can't remember how it went out. Mr. Statiel actually called me today and said he was asked by the mayor to put together a proposal for sodding the entirety of the field, and then as an alternative, just the football portion of it. And he and I were talking a little bit about last year. We talked about, we got estimates, I believe they were around 40,000, just for the center of the field.
It doesn't solve even the short-term problem. You got to do the whole thing. That's
Yes.
what the proposal was
Yes.
for from the field committee. I've been coaching on this field for 12 years.
Yeah.
The
No,
only way to do it is to do the whole thing over until we can get to some other solution. If that gets us 2 years, then we'll deal with 2 years. But again,
Yeah, I'm not
it
taking a
can't-
position on that.
Listen,
I'm
if you want to do it in May, that's fine, right? Do it in May, but you've got to deal with men's softball. Last year, I went to the Knights of Columbus. They were going to lease us the field for men's softball to play down there. Again, came down to the issue of lights. There's no lights down there. The neighbors don't want lights. You can't even rent them to put them down there because the police will be there every night because the generators are going. That's why we sod in November, is because, yes, if we get a light winter, maybe that's a good thing. But the biggest thing is you have to do something. Mr. Bruno, who's not paying attention to anything.
I hear everything
You
you're
have
saying.
to do something, and you don't get to vote by yourself.
Why are you
I'm done.
yelling? Why are you yelling? You yell at your kids like that on the field? Anybody else? We close, yeah, they have no choice. We close the meeting, public motion?
Anyone else?
Rosa.
Motion.
Rosa.
Rosa.
No, sorry, Rosa.
Be calm, I'm not going to bring up any old subjects.
Thank you, Rosa.
You're welcome. I want to speak about the middle school. I mean, it's really a shame that we have to, not only us in Washington Township, but in Westwood, have to pay such a high exorbitant of monies that goes into the taxes, the pie that you do the budget every year for the school system is moving everything over. Nobody be able to even have a piece of that pie. Everything's going towards the school system. I mean, I don't understand why the proposal for this middle school wasn't done first before the football field. Was the football field, I know this is the council, we need somebody at the meeting when they do this next time, in a couple of weeks or whatever. Why did they do this? Why was the football field, I know you won't be able to answer that question, so important before building the middle school? Now we're going to get taxed again. And all we do is pay taxes. Everything gets higher and higher. It's with the school system. You know that. You've done the budget, right? You try to keep the budget down, but it's not going to go down because of the school system. They don't know what they're doing over there. When they decide that a football field is more important than a middle school, something's wrong. And I know you can't answer that question, but I think we need a representative at the school meetings when they have them. And I think they're going to have one this week.
Thursday.
Right?
Thursday.
Thursday. I think the taxpayers of this town better get to these meetings because they're taking advantage. I'm not saying that the school shouldn't be built, but they should have built it before the football field, because the football field is not used every day with students like a middle school.
Well, we did have 2 years of municipal tax decreases, so we did have the last 2 years of municipal tax decreases. I don't control the school budget, so.
I know that.
Okay.
I just had to bring it out because, I mean, it's getting a little overbuilt.
Anybody else? Motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Individual resolutions, consent agenda. All the following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of the council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any councilman may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution 17-308, Resolution 17-309, Resolution 17-310, Resolution 17-311, Resolution 17-312, Resolution 17-313, Resolution 17-314, Resolution 17-315, Resolution 17-316, Resolution 17-317, Resolution 17-318. Motion?
Council President, I must accuse myself from 17-308.
Okay.
We are members of the VFW Pub 6192.
So noted.
Thank you.
Bob?
Can we make a motion and then I'd say yes and have a discussion?
Yeah, do you make a motion?
Make a motion?
Sure, make a motion. Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Okay. Steve?
I want to table 17-317.
You want to table it?
Mm-hmm.
For another time?
Yep, for another time.
Hold. Mr. Holman?
Can you explain the issue on Robinwood that is resulting in a grant application?
I could. This is part of the NJDOT grant, and in order to make this grant, listen, I'm not in favor of really picking Robinwood, but they have to have a road. In order to be able to put the DOT grant in process, they have to have some road that is getting affected by the traffic coming off the parkway and going down to the intersection, okay? So, based on the traffic backing up that far and how they have to go cut through when there's something going on, that was suggested as the only road there that gets affected. Beechwood was already done, so that's why it was there. The engineer reviewed that and went through it.
I mean, it just seems we're basically resurfacing it? Is that?
I don't know if it's basic resurfacing. All I know, it's connected to the DOT grant because they have to show that there are safety concerns getting to the school and that kind of thing in order to get the grant.
Michael, I can answer. I did not have any prior knowledge of this until I was provided the resolution by the engineer. I do have the grant application. replacement of substandard concrete curbs and sidewalks, construction of ADA compliant curb ramps with detectable warning surfaces, where required retrofitting of catch basins, with bicycle safe grates. The first one was environmentally friendly heads. Resetting of manhole castings, failed subgrade will be excavated and stabilized, pavement milling, pavement resurfacing, long life traffic markings, colorized asphalt treatment for the crosswalk across Washington Avenue. And it is intended to improve the condition of the roadway infrastructure. That's how it's described. There's more to it. It indicates the road surface is in substandard condition.
Sorry, gentlemen in the back. Gentlemen in the back, I'm sorry, we're just trying to talk up here. Thanks.
So, in the description, it says Robinwood Road is a local collector street that provides connection to Washington Avenue at the northern terminus, and how it's a major thoroughfare, and its services, other services within a half mile include the fire department, elementary school, bus stops. So I'm not sure, other than, I guess, the discretion of the engineer, in that it was something that seemed to fit the bill of something that would be apt to get funding from the DOT. They just won't do any old road.
No, understood. It just, I guess, I didn't realize it was problematic, and if this is, taking a shot, in the dark to try and get this done, I think it's great, but it does, I never heard in all of our discussions that Robinwood was
Especially bad.
problem issue.
2 years ago, the engineer wanted to pave the bottom of it because it's really bad, but there's nowhere to go with it. So when this came up, he said it's possible, because the top of Robinwood is good, it's just the bottom section. So he said this would fit the bill in order to get money to do it, since it ties in with the intersection 168, GSP 168.
See, that's where you lose me. And again, if it's $178,000, if we could get it, I think it's great. It's money that doesn't come out of directly, township coffers, but, to make up a problem to get it, I don't see where 168 has anything to do with Robinwood.
Well, it does, because every time there's an accident, they all detoured onto Robinwood. That's the only way they detour them.
Okay.
Well, Jackson to Robinwood, yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
Well,
Listen,
Michael,
I don't care.
I don't know if I would say they make up a problem. If you would like to read the application,
So do you want to pull it?
Or no.
no,
I
I
mean,
think there's some time sensitivity.
and is
Okay.
it matching or is it,
Non-matching, all DOT is non-matching.
okay.
I mean, there may be DOT grants that are matching, but I'm saying the ones we go for are non-matching.
Okay.
We'll leave it?
Yes, the one other thing, 314, which is the authorization to bid.
Yes.
So, and maybe I just haven't been paying attention or haven't been on top of this, but this discussion, and we put this into our capital budget back in March or April, and I guess I'm just trying to understand the process internally within the town, that now we are in October and we're coming to bid for a leaf pusher. Should this be driven through the department? Is it driven through administration? Where does the impetus to get this moving? Because clearly they identified a need at some point, and the council agreed, and we put it in our capital budget. And now we're going for bids in October, which means we probably won't get this until, after the leaf season easily, and probably after the snow season.
Well, Michael, just so you know, as we've discussed, the spending requests come from within the department, since they are the ones that know the particulars of their needs.
Okay.
I believe in part this was a result of just the superintendent being new and not having someone seasoned there as his assistant. They did start getting some, reviewing the state contract vehicles that were available. And what happened was when they tailored the vehicle to what they wanted, many of the features were outside of state contract, which then is what prompts you to have to go out to bid. We tried to look into various co-op arrangements. That was not allowed. To allay your concerns about the leaf pusher, though, it's apparently something that in the past they've had custom made for their vehicles, and that's kind of a problem. They were handling that as a separate acquisition, and in fact, realizing they probably weren't going to get a new one in time for the season, have fixed the one that's causing problems. So they're going to have a full complement for leaf season. So the residents and you can be assured that they're going to be up to their full capacity. This is, again, I believe, is just a result of having new staff members in the department and them being shortchanged. They've had some issues this summer with being shorthanded. Right now, when we realized we were facing this, I said, you know what, let's just go out to bid. It's easier than trying to find a state contract or a co-op contract.
Okay.
Ironically enough, the leaf pusher, which is only about $6,000 of it, is the one that really caused the most problem, because it is something they have to tailor to the truck.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we have pulled 17-317.
Excuse me, Bob, I have a couple questions on 315 and 316 also.
Yep.
They both say that the engineer has developed a plan of action and cost estimate. Are these recent plans of action and cost estimates, or do they go back, because the intersection's been a topic for years? I'm just curious how current these plans of action are and cost estimates.
Well, actually, as to that, originally when there was an email that had circulated about the grant for the intersection. I was aware of a grant that you had all authorized back in the spring. It was under Safe Streets. It was lesser in scope. When I saw this come up, I said, well, is this a revision or is it a new one? And that other grant was not granted. At the time, we were not a safe streets community, and during the summer, at Mr. Statiel's urging, we all adopted a resolution getting you to have that categorization to enable you to get similar grants. He since has expanded the scope of the application. I think he was talking to the mayor about it. But it's based on newer information. It's more comprehensive. It's not just bus stop access. It's to deal with the fundamental problems of the intersection with widening lanes and so forth. So it's all based on fresh information.
Okay. If it's fresh, can we get a copy of it then, so
Certainly.
we're aware?
Certainly.
Also, he was successful with that other DOT discretionary grant, so I think when he was there, he learned a lot more.
Great.
Okay, so 17-317 is off. Mr. C is recused from 17-308. May I have a motion for everything else?
So moved.
Second.
We had a motion, so, can we just go forward with the roll call?
Well, the motion was basically on the consent agenda.
Yeah, then you gotta do
but-
separate roll
but-
call.
But now that it's an amended motion apparently, because it's a motion of the items that haven't been removed.
Bob, why don't you go through the ones that we approved right now, as
That's what I'm
opposed to the ones we
That's what I'm saying.
approved?
The
Yeah.
ones you pulled off, I think you pulled off 17-308 and 17-317.
No, 17-308, Tom just can't vote.
Right, well, you're pulling it.
Okay, so we'll pull off 17-308 and do separate.
Yeah,
And
that's.
17-317 is
Okay, wait,
off.
Tom.
So we'll make a motion for everything with the exception of 17-308, which will be done separately, and a motion, and 17-317, which is tabled.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Councilman Calhoun?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes.
Okay,
So now we have a motion for Resolution 17-308. Mr. Sears recuses himself.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calhoun?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Recuse.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes.
Just-
Okay.
Just a question
Yeah.
to Dr. Casio, excuse me. are we going to put this back on for discussion, the 317, or?
Yeah, can we put it on for the next consent agenda?
Okay.
I have the article here. If anybody wants a copy of it, I can make a copy of it.
I would like a copy.
Okay, I'll do it at a break.
Okay, so have adjournment to conference agenda, please. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. So we're moving on to conference agenda, current business, first the administration, the road program, post-paving update. Is anything going to happen?
Well, I think you heard it. It's in the tracker. And the mayor also mentioned it. 3 additional streets. And the curbs, Madeline, Tulane, and Amherst.
And the 2 ramps.
It's in the first line of the tracker on the capital projects.
Okay, I'm sorry, I put mine down somewhere. I also put down Hull Terrace here because we had some discussions in the past about Hull Terrace.
I don't think
And-
there's money for that now, and
No, it's not a question of money right now, just so we understand. I did have a question with the resident, one of the residents, 2 of the residents, but one of them was explaining that the road, apparently, I guess when the complex went in, it was a private road, not a private road. We have put up signs, we've paved the street, we've serviced the snow plowing there, we don't pick up leaves there. So it appears as if it's technically a town street. I don't know the legality of it because it goes back to 2005, I think. And there's a lot of questions. I think, Mr. Paula, you might remember some of this, I don't know.
Yeah, I do remember that, well, not exactly, but I remember that there was, as I recall, it was not a street. But the town decided to provide the services to it in terms of paving and whatever collection we're doing. And I remember there was some time spent on it of who owned what and how the parking could be and so on and so forth. Remember, there was an agreement that was even going to be negotiated among the...
That was at the end of it.
Right, yeah. So, but I it's funny, today I tried to look at the map to locate Hull Terrace. I mean, is it on the map?
It goes by 2 names.
I mean, I tried to actually locate this on the tax map. It's very difficult to even locate. And so, which indicates to me it's not a street. I mean, you'd have to pull a title report to nail that down if it's a street, to find out if it's a real street. But my recollection, I'm not saying it's a perfect recollection, but my recollection is it was not a street.
I guess the issue is...
Well, it was paved.
No, it was paved.
Yeah.
The town decided to pave it and give some services, but
Right.
technically it was not a dedicated street.
So if it were to become a dedicated town street, being there's a sign, being we paved it, being we plow it, what needs to be done so that we can resolve this issue? Because it's not just a paving issue. Apparently, when we did pave it, it doesn't seem as if it was done accurately, so
That's what I think.
there's water
When it
flying
was
into
paved-
everybody's driveways
when it-
now.
When it was paved in the last road program,
Yeah.
which was the end of the, I don't know, 97, 98, 2000, when it was paved at that time, it was just paved and nothing else looked at. You know, when we do a paving program, we look at other things there, different catch basins, problems with water here and there, drainage issues. It was just paved. And although the road looks good and it has, I think, a ranking of 16 on that list we have, there are issues that have to be addressed there in terms of some water issues. And so I think that it's going to have to be looked at before, you know, we can pave it anyway. The engineer would have to go out there. He did go out there once. I did send him out there once. And I think that we do have a commitment to pave it though.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Ken, the street does have a Washington Township street sign on it.
Right.
The other private roads do not have that. So I don't understand how it cannot be a town road.
And
If we're-
I authorized them to pick up leaves there too.
Oh, now you're doing leaves?
So,
Because before they weren't doing leaves.
No, I
And
don't
they
know
were-
why. That was
Yeah,
kind of.
they were plowing it.
Plowing, but
We
yeah.
plow it, we paved it in the past, we got a township street sign, we weren't doing leaves, now we're doing leaves.
So
If
that's
it looks
why,
like a
I
duck, it's a
also, I
duck,
told them to pick
you
up the
know?
leaves.
Yeah,
this year.
except it's not a duck, it's not a street unless it's dedicated as a street. I mean, you could do what you want with it,
Right.
what you want, but if you want to make that a street, then they're gonna all have to consent to it and dedicate it to the town. Town's gonna have to accept it.
Right.
You know, it has to go on the map as a regular street, so there are some legal things that have to be done, and they're gonna have to consent to it.
Do
Now,
all the residents have to consent to
I believe
that?
so, they own the property.
I think there's 4
They own the
residents.
property, you're not taking it, just saying, I'm making it a street and.
Oh, no, I'm
without
not taking eminent domain
Yeah,
on
so.
it. That
so
was
the bottom
what it
line,
would be, right?
They have to, they
They all have to agree that it would have to be a
Sure,
street.
just where is
Okay.
the street gonna stop? If it's, somebody says, this is my property, I'm
Okay.
not consenting to dedicate this to be a street.
Can I ask?
That's, I just want to know how that worked, that's all. It seems like a street, I know it's not
I
a
know
street,
it's been,
but,
you know, for practical
It's
purposes,
a
you're
street.
right, for practical purposes, it's been treated like a street in terms of the services
Services,
afforded.
right.
Because I think the equities, as the council has acted in the past, they've said, we should be paving this, we should be
Right.
doing this, we should be doing that. But if you actually are gonna get to the point of calling it an actual street, you're gonna have to do more.
would we as a town go to them as a council, or a mayor would do that, or how would that proceed if we wanted
Yeah,
to?
it would be more an administrative approach, like we did with that other pie-shaped property, remember?
Yeah.
That we
sold off?
proposed them
Okay.
and so on and so forth.
All right.
Ultimately, the council would take action.
So if you
But
could-
the first step would be the
Step-
administration. Always
Okay.
identify the end.
You could recommend for us what our first step will be, and we'll be glad to do it.
But, excuse me, Ken, if we do this, though, are we opening something up for every other private road in town to say, hey, I want the town to now maintain my road also? So I think we're going down a little bit of a dangerous area here.
Well, that's why we did what we did on Linwood with that new subdivision.
Mhm.
It's a private driveway, because we didn't want 3 different driveways coming out to the main road. So I don't know, we'd have to look up and see how many private roads
I
we
mean,
have.
this is a street
Right.
we're already doing. We've already committed services to them, so it's not like the street calls and says, I'd like it, where we haven't done anything. With these people, we've given them services, so, so Ken, you'll let us know, or Madam
Well,
Mayor, Mary Ann, what the first step is? or-
Me?
I don't know, he said administration, so.
It's administration.
He said Ken, relax.
Then he said Mary Ann.
Can I just ask, Ken, you're recollecting, could this actually be a town street, or is that not under question? We believe this is a private street?
I'm gonna tell you that from my recollection, it was not.
Okay.
But we'll look into it. If we're actually gonna go into talking to the people about making it a street, we're gonna find out what the title looks like anyway.
Okay. Okay.
But what's different about this street from the other private streets? Why are we isolating this one street?
The resident from Hull
Because it
Terrace.
was paved
Yeah.
back by somebody
Okay.
and set a precedent
I
that,
don't like propagating mistakes, so if a mistake was made, that's one thing, but now if we're gonna look to just take over this street and do all town services, I have a bit of an issue with that.
Well, we already are. We paved it, we're doing snow plowing. The only thing we're not doing is leaves. And we actually, with our pavement, have ruined properties because it wasn't done correctly, so the water is draining into everybody's lot. So, I mean, that was a responsibility that whomever did it, didn't do it right, so. All right, so you'll let us know? Number 3, technical assistant building update. We hired somebody?
Yeah, that's also on the project tracker.
Okay. When they start?
next week
Mon-
she starts.
Okay.
Can I, next Monday, and she may come in if I can work it out with the former assistant who's been coming in on the weekends and evenings to help out.
Okay.
So she can introduce her to the system. She has experience in a building department already, so she'll hit the ground running. The only difference is the database we use, the software.
Okay, because I mean, I've run into some people who just, you know, I'm sure the gentleman there is doing the best he can, but there's a lot of unhappy people out there not getting.
Oh, I know, and it
services.
takes a lot of time out of my day when I have to try to
Okay.
get involved and help problems, and, I mean, I try to help as much as I can, but
Okay.
it takes me away from other important work.
That's fine, so we have somebody coming. I have email security. Again, the former employees are still on Rackspace, they're still on the address You know, I don't know why we can't just get these people off. I don't know who can administer this, but the names are still there.
I told you, we're working out, transitioning some of the work.
Okay.
So, we're addressing things as we can. It's going to be part of the whole computer project.
Okay.
I got an email from the former clerk who's been gone.
Yeah.
Well, I believe
2
that,
years.
I can't fix what I don't know about, and apparently, we know what happens.
Irwine, I got an email from her.
No,
Yes, sir.
apparently it was.
I'm sorry, hang on one second.
Don't mean to interrupt. Does everybody feel comfortable if we leave right now?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, thank you.
No, we're good. We're good.
Everyone's all right?
Are you guys gonna cause me trouble?
Everybody's good though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're good.
thank you.
Okay.
No, Steve, I was not aware of that until it was recently brought to my attention, and then Sue worked with the IT company, and I
Okay.
think it's been fixed.
No problem.
All right. Project tracker. I don't know if anybody has any questions on the project tracker.
Yeah, one question, the dispatcher, where are we at?
Where is it, Tom, on the?
That is.
The last page, I believe.
Last page, police dispatcher hire.
That's for the mayor.
I'm sorry.
That's for the mayor. I don't have any
I'll have
involvement.
an answer for you at the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I think we were waiting for a test and an interview. Is everything done?
We did the tests
All
and
the test
everything, yes.
interviews are done, so
I'm
now?
doing more financial documentation right
Okay.
now on the entire department and the costs. And I'm probably going to ask you also to make a change in the police ordinance for the table of organization too. So I'm preparing that at this point.
I don't know what that means.
To hire another dispatcher?
No, I'm doing a whole study of certain things in the department.
So you put in a new
Because
organization on it?
in order to have dispatchers, we would need 5 full-time dispatchers. So I'm studying the cost, because the cost to have that would be an additional $300,000 over and above what we pay now. So I'm doing some studying of what I'm going to do with dispatchers.
Okay. Anybody else on the tracker?
No?
Ordinances and legislation, amend section 173 of the code sidewalks.
Okay, this was the section that I had recommended that you put into the property maintenance code to add some ability to the code enforcement official to address the maintenance of sidewalks, which really was kind of like not really spoken about specifically in the property maintenance code. Originally, you had already agreed that it was a good idea, and we had agreed that we would just put it in the codification. But then, looking at my notes and talking to Sue, we were thinking that maybe we should be enacting this ordinance now, because who knows how long the codification might take. And this would, it's something that you definitely want to do. It's a pretty easy ordinance to put in. And it's something that we could just introduce and get on the books and be available for the code enforcement official to start doing as soon as it's enacted.
So you'll put it in, is what you're saying?
I did it. It's there, right?
Yes, so,
But I mean, I know you're doing the code.
Yes,
So-
I put it in the code
Okay,
already.
all right.
I told them to put it in the code, but by the time the code's published, we could probably have this thing enacted
Okay.
and available.
So what do we need to do?
So you just introduce it at the next meeting.
Okay.
who is it the code enforcement officer?
This
who-
one is his, yes, this
Okay.
is probably maintenance code.
And although we've talked about it up here, has he come to the administration with an issue on this? Because I do think it's worthwhile to do. I just think that the second this is passed, people are going to start calling, which, may or may not be a good thing. And, we are probably looking at a significant number of, reports in, and a significant burden on homeowners who, may or may not be prepared to, undertake the replacement and reconditioning of their sidewalks. So, we saw the pushback on the parking ordinance at the firehouse, the parking ordinance at the high school. I just think that we should give this some careful consideration before we implement it, because once we do, I know I will have to personally address quite a bit of my sidewalk. So maybe I just will recuse myself.
We have had some complaints, actually, some things I personally noticed. I called him up and I said, can you go and he's had some questions about what is required under the ordinance. I mean, I guess if you don't take action, there's always I don't know if Mr. Poller, I personally felt that it was already covered under something else in the ordinances, as far as maintaining the property for safe passage or something along those lines. The other option is that, I guess, if you make the town responsible for it, then the town has potential liability. So, I mean, those are questions that you
Well, you
all have
can't,
to
you don't want to
consider.
make a town responsible for it.
Yeah.
There's no way you want to do that.
Yeah, so
And the
it's-
purpose of doing that is, even though you might think that section gives you the authority, it's really so vague that a person really wouldn't necessarily know that his sidewalk, which was raised 1/8 of an inch or 1/2 an inch, is a dangerous condition, that kind of a thing.
Okay, so you're not really changing it, you're just clarifying?
Yeah.
Okay, because it sounded like Michael was suggesting this was something new.
Well, it's new in the respect that nobody's really focused on it before, but he is right, in terms of like any issue you take up, whether it be parking on the grass or the driveway or parking on the street or the firehouse. I mean, there are going to be people aggrieved, and there is going to be an expense involved. Now, my view of the ordinance, it's not an ordinance which is a wholesale, everybody's got to go and redo their sidewalks and make them flat. Because the wording that's in there is the same wording as it is for the other property maintenance violations, that it's a condition that's unsafe, right? Is that what it
Yes.
says?
Condition constitutes a hazard to persons utilizing the same.
Okay, so the hazard aspect is still the code enforcement official's judgment that this is a dangerous condition. So even if you went under Mary Ann's approach, that maybe we have it already, or you go up under this approach, I mean, you still are going under the idea that it has to be unsafe condition. So I think, in one respect, yes, I think you might get a lot of phone calls. The answer is people are not gonna have to just replace their sidewalks willy-nilly. As far as the enforcement, that Gary's gonna have to use his judgment. I think if he sees something that's like 1/10 of an inch above, he's not issuing any kind of a notice. If he sees something that's up 3 inches or 4 inches, he'll issue a letter.
So you've walked on my sidewalk?
Now I will.
Shouldn't keep saying that, Mike. Just don't give your address.
No, so I do think that's, it should be something we consider. Clearly, it's important to have safe streets and safe sidewalks. At the same time, some people, and I think the percent is going to be a little higher than we think.
Much higher.
Are going to be looking at something, so.
Well, an alternative could be, if you wanted to, you could put something out there and say that you're considering doing this and see what the feedback is, although you'll probably get a lot of feedback.
I don't think you have to figure out.
Yeah,
right?
I guess you have to balance it against the pedestrians who want to use it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ken.
No knock ordinance?
So you want it on or you don't want it on?
For next week?
Yep. You don't have to, I just want to,
Well, I don't know if, I said a lot. I guess everyone else has good sidewalks, but I don't know if anyone else has any questions.
I don't have
I
sidewalks.
maintain mine. I hate it. I hate it, but it's something I'm obligated to do. And,
I just have
do our
grass.
business out of the house, so I gotta keep it nice.
And I guess the question is, was the sidewalk there when you bought the house? If so, you...
It
if
was.
so, no, I don't mean you in
You have no
particular. I don't mean
sidewalk.
you in
Tom has no
particular.
sidewalk, so,
I mean
you know.
homeowners in general. If
Yeah.
it was there and they knew they had to maintain it, it should be maintained just like other parts of their property. We can't have, we want to encourage people to get out and walk and like that, and we don't want them tripping, so.
So Ken, why don't you put it in, we could either knock it off next week or not, just so we have something to look at.
Well, it's there.
Okay, so, but you said you have to put it in.
No, I'm saying, do you want it, I'm really doing it for Sue. Do you want it introduced on for introduction for next meeting, or you don't? Do you want to hold off? You want to think about it? You want to talk about
Yeah,
it?
so hold off,
Okay, that's fine.
unless anybody else has comments to hold off or not hold off.
I mean,
I'm okay with holding
no,
off
this
right
part
now.
But what are we holding off for? For more research, for?
Well, because we don't want, we don't want to put this out there, and then everyone's gonna be climbing all over us, and we don't have our facts and exactly what it is, and what's gonna be the judgment, and who's gonna say it's, dangerous and not dangerous.
Can I make a suggestion? How about
Yes.
if we ask Gary to give us a little memo on what kind of criteria he would use to determine that a sidewalk
Okay.
was,
Good.
unsafe or dangerous.
Okay.
He might give you some parameters in terms of how high it has to be lifted up or stuff like that.
Good enough.
Yeah, I just didn't want to drop it without
Okay.
having something to do
Yeah,
like that.
So maybe that'll be helpful.
All right, that's good.
So
So,
Marion, you can ask him.
Marion will talk
I
to
think
Gary.
that Gary would in turn and say, what does the attorney say?
That's the problem.
So, I mean, can we take can we take a small a small section, I mean, 1 or 2 blocks, and, just have Gary
Do an estimate, yeah.
walk and say, and maybe take a few pictures and say, this is a condition that would require remediation, this is okay.
Perhaps the engineer.
I don't know
Weighing
who,
in.
but,
Years ago, under the previous mayor, what they used to do with sidewalks is notify the resident that their sidewalk needed repair. And once the resident got a letter, if anybody did get hurt, it was, everything was on the resident. That was the policy for many, many years. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that was the policy. And most of the areas where people got them was where the trees' roots lifted up the
Yes.
sidewalks, okay? And that's where most people would trip or not be able to walk or whatever. And that's what they used to do, is send out a letter and say, your sidewalk needs repair, you have 60 days, whatever it was, to get it repaired. And once you were notified, then if anything happened there, it was under you.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that's,
Well, it might have been under you anyway.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I'm just saying that's what,
Ken-
I'm just giving them
I
some
mean-
background on what the policy was.
I think you just have to decide for yourselves whether you want the sidewalks to be in a condition that, is not a danger to people. I mean, that's kind of an overall judgment you have to make. It's gonna cost people money, there's no question about it. But, I mean, that's really what you have to decide, is whether you want the sidewalks to be relatively safe, not 100%, but relatively safe, and obvious situations addressed. See, the way I was looking at this thing was to give the property maintenance code official the tools, the weapons to get a real bad situation addressed, because I really didn't feel that the other ordinance, the way it's
Yes.
written, gave enough to that. So this is really putting it in his hands. Do I envision this as an ordinance that's gonna redo all the sidewalks in town? No. And I figure that Gary would be very judicious in, taking a look. He's not gonna be running around examining all of these. We've talked about whether he's gonna be patrolling all the sidewalks in town. The answer is no. But if he gets a complaint from a home and says, hey, my child tripped on this sidewalk, it's up 3 inches up off the ground, Gary goes out there and says, this is very dangerous, I'm gonna issue a letter on this. And it's a letter, by the way, it's not a summons, it's a letter, and to tell him to do it. So I just thought it was a pretty reasonable approach to take, and it was really in the enforcement that you would determine how aggressive it would be.
okay.
That was just my approach.
And just since we're talking about this, Ken, isn't it true that under the common law, you have, a homeowner has that responsibility to maintain it?
I just said, you have it
Yeah.
even without the letter.
Even without, well, I'm saying, even without the ordinance, you have it.
No, even
Now,
without
the
the
difference, oh, yeah, and even,
Because liability is different than.
well,
than
responsibility,
maintenance.
responsibility.
Liability for injuries is different than,
Right,
than maintaining the sidewalk.
okay.
Two different things.
Yeah, and I know in towns that have shade tree committees,
That's
then
different.
that's different, you don't have one. But in the towns that have a shade tree committee, the town is responsible if it's a tree root lifting
We
it.
don't want to get involved with that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to put it on? We're going to talk about it?
We can put
Leave
it on.
off?
We can put it on.
Put it on?
I'd like it on.
No-knock ordinance?
Okay, so I started doing this no-knock ordinance, and we didn't talk about it much last time, we just talked about it a little bit. So I took the various ordinances, and I started writing it up. And so I got to the point where I could define, you know, who's the solicitor, and I could define getting the no-knock registry and all that taken care of. But then I started to think about, we really didn't talk about how you want the information going to the people going around that a house is a no-knock house, okay? And some of the things that you could do was that you could get signs. Some of the ordinances had, that, in other words, if you were on the no-knock list, you had to post your property with a sign so that a canvasser would know not to go. Another was, that I thought about, was that since you have to get a permit, that the part of the permit would be a list of the no-knock, and so therefore, if you went to the property, you're gonna need a sign because you were already put on notice because you have the list. Then, somebody had mentioned a decal, I remember I took a note of a decal. A decal on, I guess, on the house was another way of doing it. Also putting the no-knock list on the website if you wanted to do that as well. But then I was thinking about the people really want their name on the website as being listed as, they don't want to be bothered, I'm not sure of that. So I just wanted to come back to you and talk about that aspect of it. And then I also wanted to talk about the exemptions of who was not gonna be covered by the no-knock, like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and we didn't talk about it, we just talked about it generally. So now when I'm putting paper to, pen to paper, now it becomes something that I need a little input from you people, okay? So, those are the two issues that I'm looking for guidance on.
Well, in the times we live in, I haven't had any children come to my door in a long time, other than for Halloween, for candy. So I don't know that that's an issue that we have to worry about, because I
We
just
don't
don't
get
think
a
it's
lot
gonna
of
happen.
trick-or-treaters either.
Right,
Yeah.
and so, I don't think we have to worry about Scouts, Little League, it just doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately.
Well, what about like collecting for, for sports and stuff like that, adults? Or, okay, if not worried, okay, fine, so.
They go on the street.
Okay.
They go at the
Okay,
intersection,
all right, we'll take care.
take their life in their hands and try and raise
When you
money.
think about it, how many people
Run down
on this
the
council do people actually come to your door and knock on your door in a year?
Couple.
You get maybe 10 at best. That's a great year, excluding Halloween, okay? And sometimes you don't even get that, I know.
9 p.m. curfew
Up on
on
Gabriel Way,
Halloween.
you don't get many
We don't
coming.
get it hardly
It's
any.
good because I get all my in-laws chocolate, it's fantastic, I don't mind. But again, I don't think it's something that we should even worry about, because it happens so infrequently. You're putting something on the book that you'll barely ever use. Barely ever happens. I live on a main street. No one comes to my door. Very few people. How many people come to your door, Dom?
In the last 2 months, I had 3. I had the window company, the chimney sweep company, and a roof company.
Peter?
But I think
It needs a
the,
lot of work, that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking the same
I
thing.
guess it does. Yeah.
All right,
Again-
I think the
I have a new
knocking,
roof, new windows installed,
I think
and I
that,
I don't need a chimney cleaner.
yeah, I think the no knock, I think it's important to have because, you know, if you start reading the papers, there are a lot of people walking around knocking on doors for different reasons, so,
I think it's best to have it
Yeah.
on the
We
I
want to
agree.
give our seniors the protection to sign up for
No, but-
it.
And also,
We
just
do get
recently, the
calls at
prosecutor
the police
put out a blurb about
Yeah.
these phony people knocking on doors.
yeah, yeah,
So-
yeah, I think it's good.
Fake
Okay.
people?
Okay,
Public service, that's a
All right,
little
so the question is, how do you want to handle the list going to, how do you want the enforcement? Do you want to have people put up signs? Do you want that the people get the permits, get the list? Do you want a decal? What are you looking for?
My knee-jerk reaction is the list is a definite and everything else is optional for the people if they want to go that far.
Okay, so I'm just
But
interested in.
that's just me.
I'm just interested in the enforcement of it, so if you say, if we
I,
say that.
I have seen decals on people's door, you know, with the no knock sign, with the,
Well, I mean, like you said, if you want to do something on your own, that's okay, but I wouldn't put that in here. What
Right.
I'm interested in is what has to be done so that you can actually enforce it. So we're gonna do it where when you get your permit, you get a list, the no-knock list.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the list is a good idea, like just as a basic, because they can look at it right away, no, not to go there.
They're
If you have to
wasting
go
their
up to
time.
the person's house and see that they have a decal,
right.
you know, you're already up, you know, walking on their property, so.
And that can be given electronically. We don't have to produce it in paper format, do we?
Well, what I'm thinking of is if they're gonna get a permit, I would want them to sign that they got the list.
Right, that they got the
I don't
list.
wanna have a thing with, you didn't get the list, you can't give me a summons. I want, if somebody, if you're gonna hold them to it, and they're gonna come in for a permit, let them get a list.
It's not gonna be that.
They have to come in person now anyway, don't they, to apply for the permit? Yes. so-
Yes, they have
they
to
say,
come
yeah,
in, yes, they
yeah.
have to come in
Yeah.
person.
And so I would make them sign a receipt that they got the
Right.
list.
How much is the
Can I-
permit? How much should we charge them for the permit?
Nothing. Oh, the permit, no, they already can do that, right, the solicitation?
Yeah,
They can
yeah,
already
yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
That's already taken care of.
The question is,
Yeah.
if they come for a permit,
Yeah.
how much is the permit that they have to spend?
We have to look it up. We have to look
I
it up.
don't,
We gotta look it up.
It does
It's on the
every,
books already.
some are exempt.
That's not the question.
Yeah.
How much is it? Is it $10, $20, $40?
And by the way, do they apply to the
I'm trying to
clerk,
look up.
the clerk, or to the police?
They go to police.
So who is gonna maintain this list, the clerk or the police?
No, I don't think the police should, well, the police,
They issue the permit.
they issue.
They issue the permit.
Does the police issue permit?
I
Yes.
believe they
The
do.
solicitors, we don't do the.
All right, then it's in the police
Because-
department.
Well, do you want the no-knock list to be, well, if people wanna go on the no-knock list, who should be, you want them to contact the police? Or you want them to contact the clerk?
I think that list should be made by the clerk.
Well, why are you separating it? Why would you separate a same function in two
Well,
different
because they
departments?
mostly would go to the clerk probably for that part of it.
You just
They
told me
send
that,
it to me for everything.
you told me the police do the
They
permits.
get the permits, yeah. But,
That's silly, putting it in two different departments.
yeah, but
If that's what you want to
that
do.
may be the way it should go.
I'd like to go out on a limb and say maybe if we have a database that both departments could share
Well, no,
and
I think,
update.
Well, they should both have a list.
Yeah.
I think whoever has it, I mean, if the clerk gets it, the clerk's gonna have to share it with the police. The police are the ones that are gonna give the summonses.
Are we talking, Sue, if you get it and it's the
Don't
police, can you
share.
just send it down to them?
Yeah.
Or we're really getting hung up here on a null issue?
So what's the
Well, they,
cost of the permit?
that already
No,
happens
the
anyway.
issue is,
issue
is
of
who
who's
do
gonna have to be
people call
responsible.
to go on the list? Normally, it would be like, I hate to say this, Sue, but it would be a clerk function.
But
More-
then normally the clerk does the solicitor's permit, which I hate to say out loud too. So, you know, they send them to me for everything. That's the
It's
bottom
almost
line.
like, they
Well,
come to me
you're
for
the keeper of the
everything.
records, that's why.
They send me
You two
for
should hang
everything.
out
They ask me
together.
everything.
Can you have
Sue
a
is the key-
conversation with the police to see where it best
Well,
resides?
that's why I brought it up, because I thought.
If you think
she
they're gonna
should
say,
have
well, we'll do
something.
it? Really?
Janet,
You're not gonna say
can you
that.
ask
They wanna do
the
less
chief
work
what
for more
his
money.
I have it on my
opinion is?
shoulder.
Somebody in
Okay.
there who can
All right,
update.
commuter parking ordinance, Janet's gonna talk to the Chief Hooper.
Yeah.
Commuter parking ordinance, we
Well,
have to,
before we go on, Bob,
Yep,
you're
yep.
talking about handing out this list. Now, the list is gonna cost paper and money. So I wanna know how much does it cost for a permit? And are we gonna absorb that cost printing We have 3,000 homes in the town. You're gonna have a list with 3,000 possible no-knocks,
You have to go through the website,
I don't.
the town website.
Oh, okay.
right? So, you know how big a voter registration list is, right? Right candidates? They're pretty thick.
Oh, yeah.
So now you're gonna print
Well,
out
let me talk to
20
Glenn,
pages
because I'm
for everyone
sure
that comes into
the other
to
town
solicit?
chiefs talk about it, and I'm sure he'll have some recommendation.
Again, you're making something that does not need to occur. That's my opinion. It's just extra work. Just say, no, I don't want
$25
it.
per year is the fee.
How much?
$25
per year.
If I'm reading
Per year.
correctly here, Ken.
For solicitors, right?
Now, is that per solicitor?
No, I'm reading the excerpt.
Oh, okay.
You're the lawyer.
What I got was people knocking on the door, they had no permits on there or chain identifying them, except when I challenged him, he said, well, my boss has the permit. Now, is everybody supposed to have?
Everyone's supposed to have
They're all supposed to
identification.
have it with them.
So they're all supposed to pay $25 to get that permit?
No, they get, they all can work on one permit.
They could only,
So
no?
They might get,
Normally what happens if Verizon came in and said, we're going to have workers in there, they would give a list of how many workers there were, and each one would have to have a permit, some sort of ID.
Yeah, but
Because they can't walk with your name and your address.
No, I know,
worker.
but they only pay one fee though, right?
No, they pay for each one.
Each
Right,
person?
so my example is,
Here's another story.
the window
That's why
guy
I
came
gave
to
it
my
to you,
house,
because
when I
there's more to
challenged
be.
him, he had no permit.
Wise guy.
And he said, oh, my boss.
Okay, hold on. So, I'm sorry, everybody's going here. So, can we get an answer and figure this out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So, Steve,
Yes.
we're answering your question. This is a Steve Cassio question.
Thank you.
Solicitors pay $25 per year.
Right,
Distributors, $25 per year.
right.
Peddlers, $25 per day, or $250 per year.
Okay.
Any person securing a license after July 1st shall pay $125 for the remainder of the year. So there's different categories. Peddlers, distributors, and solicitors.
So can you maybe put together the different, on a table with somebody and send it to us, talk to Glenn, Chief Hooper, and see where we're at? Yeah?
I'm just saying there's gonna be a cost to produce those lists.
It's a good point.
Someone's gotta produce the list,
Fair point.
so. Are we gonna raise if you raise your permits high enough, no one will come. Make it $400 for a permit, and you won't have to worry about a no-knock
They
ordinance.
get high enough,
You're all
nobody will
set.
do it.
Can they park for that?
Okay, Ken, you gonna let us know?
Maybe.
Mary Ann?
What's that?
Janet, you let us know? 'Cause-
Yes.
Okay, all right, so let's move on, please. Commuter parking ordinance?
Okay, so I did the commuter parking ordinance, which basically was the bringing back the old methodology, but it kept a couple of things from the new. Nothing bad. In other words, I kept that you had to come in person, you had to show your identification, but it brought back the old system.
It's unlimited, right?
Unlimited.
How much?
I left it open, the amount in my draft.
It was 100.
it was supposed to be 100.
Sue put it up,
Right.
because she said that's what it was.
Right.
So that's what it was. So now you got, that's the old ordinance with a little bit of the new mixed in, but it's the same scenario as before. And when you pass it, it's gonna repeal the old one.
Can I ask a question about the lot itself? One of the issues that was raised was the movement of vehicles through the lot, and that you're forced to back out onto Washington to get out at the end of the day. Is it possible to ask Mr. Statiel what is the correct
A better flow?
for that? So, I guess that they're at the north end, where, against the fence line, there are spots there, so that prevents people from going to the top and coming back.
Coming around, yeah.
So, I mean, it may force eliminating some of those spots, but
It would have to be the top 4, Mike. If you eliminate the top 4, then they could pull, drive around, and come out
To come out the regular way.
the regular way.
Let me ask to Chris about it.
You may end up with 16 spots if you ask an engineer.
Ken, do we have to say unlimited tickets, unlimited permits we're offering, or no?
No, I think with the ordinance,
Yeah, the way you have it done, you don't, you have it.
no, you set the number.
You what?
You set the number, isn't that in the ordinance?
So it is an E, but we.
Yeah, and that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna set, because like, if you get applications for, say, 75, you might say, all right, let's give 75, or let's, you'll set it at the time of year, you'll set how many you want.
Oh, but we may set the number of permits to be issued for the upcoming
Yes,
licensing year.
yes, so if you get 75 applications, you'll say,
Okay.
let's,
What happens to new people that move in?
well, then if you want, then you could say, if you got 75 applications, so we're setting the number at 100. But you're clearly not gonna set it at unlimited,
Okay.
I mean, the council could say 200, 300, whatever they wanna say. It's totally flexible. Because don't forget, year to year, you might find you have an increase, you may wanna increase the number that you give, and maybe other years you might wanna give less.
So we have to introduce?
That'll be the next meeting, though.
Okay. So the next meeting we introduce?
Yeah, first reading.
Okay.
And just to Sue, the application that they complete, and I haven't seen one, I've never completed one, but it clearly states somewhere, and if it doesn't, can we ensure it does, that it is, a spot is not guaranteed by purchasing a permit, and that it is first come, first serve?
I think we have it.
I think, is that in
Well, it's in the ordinance.
It's in the ordinance, but it's in the paperwork, so
I'm
if
trying to think, we have it on the applications
You
that we
know,
put out, but we can,
John Smith shows up,
you
is
know,
he
what
gonna
we
read?
can do is when we give out the actual hangers this year, if we don't have it on the application, maybe we can attach a note to just saying, as a reminder, it's first come, first served.
Okay.
Maybe something like that.
Okay. I have a motion to close conference agenda and move into close, please.
So moved.
Second?
Ricky needs to come down and turn some stuff off.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes.
And this is
Closed session for personnel and COA.